Everybody, so I just had this impromptu discussion slash debate with Logan Blake. I was planning on debating him tomorrow, and I might be in his live stream tomorrow anyways, to have a conversation. He doesn't seem to do like a one-on-one debate structure, so we had a bunch of friends in there at the same time. It was a weird kind of thing, but it went fine, and we had a discussion about a bunch of different vegan topics. I don't think he really has any particular stance on veganism that he wants to support. He doesn't seem to want to be able to say it's better ethically or an ethical obligation or any sort of stance. He takes a few stances, but then anytime I dispute them, he just changes topic. So I just thought I'd upload that and share with you guys, and you guys can enjoy that. So here we go.
uh, duck liver, and basically they force feed ducks until they are like horribly ill. They get fatty liver disease. It's just like people, like when you are like morbidly obese, like your liver can't handle anymore, like all the toxins and everything in your body. And what happens is they get this enlarged liver, and it's considered delicacy. People grind it up and then they make it into like this paste. You put it onto like breads and whatever, and it's horrifically cruel. In order to get the ducks to be like that, big, they basically force feed them through this tube that they shove down their throats, and they just like force feed them like several times a day. It's horrifically cruel, and a lot of countries have actually banned the practice. And now there is a new company that they are offering an ethical foie gras, and I put that in air quotes because it's like beyond disgusting, like how they can even use that word. What they do is they take free range ducks and they still kill them, and they still like take their livers, but then they do a chemical processing in a lab where they basically infuse the healthy liver with fat until it becomes the same kind of consistency and supposedly very much similar taste. And yeah, it just actually upset me enough that I was like, I'm going to do a live stream about this. I'm still digging up the link. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, that's weird how they'll do like they'll just say something's ethical, and it could be because like, oh, it's less drugs that they give them, or like it's, they'll say it's organic meat or more free range, or it's just like it's ethical because it's just slightly better in one regard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still like, torturing and killing the ducks, except there's maybe like just one tiny little bit less torture. Like it still sucks. Like I don't know how anybody could think that that this is ethical. I just sent you the link in the chat here.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
bring that up.
Yeah, it just pissed me off. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, it really shouldn't upset me because it's not that much like worse or better than anything else that people do to animals. But I just, it really upset me with calling it guilt free and ethical. Like it just like irked me, like,
Yeah.
like, is it slightly less cruel and evil than the regular? Like, okay, yes, I'll grant you that. But like, would you call it ethical? I mean, come on, like that's just, I don't know. And who's stupid enough to actually, believe this and like just buy it? That's the thing that just kind of upsets me about the whole thing. So yeah, it's just ridiculous.
This screen share stuff keeps screwing up because they always play videos in the goddamn articles, and it slows down my my scrolling here. Like they're trying to play two videos in this article here.
Oh, that's so annoying.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Multiple videos. They have like 3 videos going on here. Anyways. Okay, so where is it? Where's the important part?
So actually, yeah, right below there, pate fans will be able to enjoy a guilt-free and ethical alternative to foie gras when it hits the shelves of Waitrose. Foie Royale is what they're calling it, made at the Institute of Food Technology in Quakenbrück, Germany. After 7 years of development, will be sold at 3 deli counters of the supermarket from next week, blah, blah, blah. And then they're basically just saying that, like, yeah, the birds are slaughtered for their meat and their healthy liver is trimmed and sent to the lab for process to begin. And then basically they just infuse it with fat until they get the kind of same consistency. And it's just, I don't know, like, yeah, people are just nuts. Like, but, you know, consumers want to be fooled by this kind of thing. Like, they'll see the label and it'll just be like the same thing as like the regular humane meat or the grass-fed, you know, grass-fed free range, whatever. And they'll gladly hand over their money and buy this stupid product.
Yeah. When I went vegetarian at first, like I was only vegetarian for a month or two. And first I bought the, you know, because I was just basically making omelets with vegetables and then like just throwing vegetables, rice and in a pot and then drinking like protein shakes and stuff like that, right? So when I buy the eggs for the omelets, I would buy the, what was it? It wasn't
the cage-free stuff, right?
Yeah, it was free range, but then I noticed there was also organic, and then I was like, "What the hell is the difference?" And then I was googling what's the difference, and it was kind of like, "Oh, well," you know, I was stuck going like, "Which one's better?" And then I was thinking, "Well, maybe I should buy free range organic." And then I'm just looking at the price, and it's like it went from like $2, you know, for 12 up to like almost 10, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, I didn't know what to do, so it's like, you know, I want to be a good person. And then I realized, you know, all of it was dumb. And then I just stopped buying all of it. But like for a while, I was like, I felt bad that I wasn't buying free range and organic, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you realize that, like, most of those labels don't actually mean anything. That's the horrible part of it. You could call it whatever you want. And then because there's no actual laws about it, people are free to make their company basically say whatever they want. And they can get away with it.
Who is Evil Paul? Did I debate this guy before? I'm pretty sure I did.
Don't know. It's not ringing a bell for me.
Sounds familiar. Sounds like I talked to this guy before. If anybody actually wants to hop on and have a discussion, Meteor Man said no. I don't know where this other guy went to. He said he just woke up and then maybe he's, you know, going to the washroom or something. But okay. Yeah, if anybody else wants to hop on, I'm going to throw the link in the chat here. One sec. Oh, nope, that didn't work. Did it work? Shit. And yeah.
I love Leon's comment. I just got into the chat here. He says all of my vegetables are free range. Nice.
Who? Liam?
Leon. Leon Kutstra.
Leon. Okay.
Leon Kutstra said all my vegetables are free range. I like that.
Sky's the limit is also a flat earther too. So if he wants to come on and talk about flat Earth, you know, I'm open to any type of discussion right now. I was talking to the guy who chickened out of debating you. Oh no, but I didn't debate you. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought you were some guy. Evil Reflection. I'm confused. I'm confused with the evil. When's your marathon? It is on Saturday. That's why I went for a big run today. And then I was, you know, super sweaty because it's super hot out. Took a shower, and then I watched a skateboarding video where this guy made a trick look easy. And then I thought, well, I could do that. And then I just went outside and just ruined my shower and just got all sweaty again trying to do this trick. And then I almost twisted my ankle, and I would have screwed up my whole marathon. So then I stopped. But yeah. Here's a guy, Fawn's Homestead Life. He's got a lot to say all the time in the comment section down here. Never wants to discuss anything. One of those guys. One of those. Yeah. He's the type of guy that would buy that food that you're talking about. You know, free range. Yeah, free range. Yeah. Same with this Ethy guy. He's got Ethy right in the name. He's the type of guy that would buy that too. I think he's friends with the Shadow guy. That's why he's here. If he wants to hop on and debate, you know, because his friend's not around, he can do that too.
And Evil Paul is vegan, he says.
Yeah, so. My bad. I got him confused with another evil.
And Kay says, if a woman asks a man on a date, she pays.
Yeah,
that seems fair.
Kay's always talking nonsense. You know what? I was listening to a lot of rap on Sirius Radio lately, and all the female rappers, all they talk about is just getting money from dudes. Isn't that
Hmm.
weird? It's like, why don't you, like, you're a famous rapper? Why are you still talking about getting money from guys? Like, I could, like, do women relate to that? And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get all this money from guys, you know? I don't know if you try to listen to like any new female rapper, that's like half the song is about trying to get money from dudes. I'll fuck him till he's broke or something. And you're like, what? Like, that's what,
Yeah, I guess that's why I stay away from rap in general. But no, I wouldn't know what to do with that. I mean, that's sad if that's what's happening. Like, still in today's day and age. Like, I thought everybody was all about like, being
equality.
yeah, like
Yeah.
equality for everybody.
Yeah, there's a funny video where there was like a feminist rally, and these people were playing like a Cardi B song or like a Nicki Minaj song, and it was totally like just super like not feminist, but they were all like jiving out to it, and they're thinking that because the chorus or something was like kind of a message of equality or something about, I don't know what it was, but it was goofy. I'm sure you could find it online. And the rest of it's just like totally overboard, not equality. And yeah, yeah, that's rap though these days. Yeah, so it doesn't look like anybody wants to hop on.
Okay, ask
Effie.
me if I follow traditional gender roles. I think, yeah, the fact that I'm married and have 2 kids, that would probably qualify.
Yeah, so if you go on this Ethy guy's channel, he has a video called "The Problem with Veganism," is his first video. Then he's got
Hey,
there's Shadow. What's up? I was just gonna go through your buddy. Are you friends with this Ethy guy?
hold on. I got your thing echoing. There we go. I fixed it.
I,
What did you ask me?
oh, I said, are you friends with this Ethy guy? Ethy?
Yeah, he's on my server. Yeah, I do check out his content. I think he makes some decent content too.
Oh, I see. Oh, he's got Carnival on his channel. It must be a smart channel then. You got Carnival on there.
He's a young guy. He's I think 16 or 17. So I wouldn't say that he knows everything, but he actually does quite a bit of research for the stuff he does make, and he puts in quite an effort. I think he's going to be a pretty good philosopher slash vegan activist in the future.
Wait, what? So this Ethy guy's a vegan?
Yeah, he's a vegan.
Oh, are you a vegan?
No, I'm not
Oh,
a vegan.
okay. It's confusing. It's super confusing here. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have to tell Conscientious Omnivore to leave or anything. Like he can just sit there and if he wants to just I don't want to make it like a two versus one thing or anything though, right?
Well, I mean, I was just hopping on for the fun of it. I didn't think this was our debate. I assume we're
No,
going to
well,
debate tomorrow.
yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk about a couple things. We could have we could talk about what we're gonna debate about or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
sure. We
Um.
can get down our debate topic because we weren't really able to settle one in the emails.
Okay. Well, let's talk about because you debated vegan gains, and it wasn't like you trying to like debunk veganism or anything, right? Like it
No.
was no, it was like he was trying to make sure you were consistent, is what I got from it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that tends to be vegan gains. To ask yourself that whole circle of people that attempts, that's what they just try and do is to see if you can be consistent.
Okay, so why? I mean, like say I'm who was I talking about earlier? Hannibal Lecter, and he's consistent. Like
Mhm.
you think that's like the most important thing is just to like be consistent?
No, I mean that's their argumentation style. That's not mine. But I went in happy to oblige to that. Actually, when it came to vegan gains, he wanted to take up the position that veganism is a moral obligation, and that was a stance I suggested to you, but you said you felt that was kind of vague and you didn't want to take that up.
Well, I mean, if you like, because you said also like there's no odds, right? It seemed like at one point he was asking you about like, uh, whether it's okay to abuse an animal, and it seemed like you were saying in one context it was fine, but then if somebody else did it, you would think that person's a sick person.
Well, what's the context? I said it was fine.
Well, you said like for you, like if you're paying for people to, I mean, you would say there's animal abuse rampant in animal agriculture, and that's basically what you're paying for, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't agree to that.
You wouldn't agree that there's animal abuse in animal agriculture.
Well, that wasn't your first question, was it? You asked me, is it rampant in animal agriculture?
You don't think like, okay, well, I guess, I mean, again, that's one of those terms where we have to define how much, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so what, I mean, there's a lot, but like,
But what is that? That's like the vague statement. What's a
yeah,
lot?
well, I mean, they're getting killed though, too. You don't consider, stabbing in the throat abuse?
No, I don't think killing animals is wrong.
No, I said abuse. Like that's
Do I think
abuse.
it's abuse? No, I don't think it's abuse.
You don't think getting stabbed in the throat is abuse?
I don't think it's abuse to kill animals. No.
Okay. What do you think it's also, is it abuse for me to stab a human in the throat?
Yeah, I would say that's abuse.
No, so then the term abuse and stabbing in the throat, it all of a sudden the word changes when we're adding humans instead of animals.
Yeah, I suppose because I think it has a moral dimension to it.
Well, you realize also
Is there more of a physical definition that you want to use for abuse, and then we can either agree it is or isn't?
Well, so you don't think humans are animals either?
No, I do think humans are animals, but I'm using more the colloquial definition of human and then non-human animals. If that's confusing, I can just say human. I can just say human and non-human animals to clear it up.
Okay, so is it abuse if I just punch a dog in the face?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not abuse if I stab a dog in the throat.
If you stab it just for no reason, or are you talking about for food?
Well, why does it have to be for food? I'm just talking about the act of stabbing it in the throat.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, people don't even do that in animal agriculture, do they? They stun them first, and then they slit their throats in order
Well,
to
not
drain out
always.
the blood. Well, is it your belief that the animal agriculture just goes up and stabs animals in the throat? Is that how you think
Well,
it works?
sometimes the thing doesn't work, right? I think there's like a high percentage of like when the shock or the bolt gun doesn't work.
What's a high percentage?
Oh, I have to find the numbers on that.
I've seen stats that show pretty reliably that it's around 15 to 20%, depending on the place and depending on the animal. So that's like 1 in 6, let's say.
Sure. Go if you can find those statistics for me. That'd be great.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, I'm not going to try to make any claims that I don't have the things in front of me. I do have, some stuff.
But just to circle back, because this is just becoming the actual debate. What topic is it that you want to defend?
That I want to defend? Well, so here's the thing. Like I was trying to say this at the beginning is like you're gonna say, because you did the same thing, like you'll probably end up saying the same things that you did in the vegan gains debate, right? You're gonna be like, this is how I feel, and there's no oughts, right? That's kind of like a fallback. You go, well, there's no oughts. This is the way I feel. You can't tell me what to do. I'm drawing an arbitrary line here. You have your position, and then we're both consistent, and that's it. That's the end of it. Right. And then so really it's up to the people watching, like who they think is more reasonable, a reasonable position for them to take.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to a degree, but that's just my stance on meta ethics. That's what I think ethics are. Do you have maybe an opposing position that you would want to argue for?
Well, like let's say the Destiny debate. I think your debate is pretty similar with the Destiny one. So like he shows his position about like, oh, it's okay to, rip the flesh off an animal or a dog, whatever. And I'm consistent, but like, people are just going to go, well, this guy's insane. Okay. Like who cares if you're consistent, Like why does that's what I'm saying, like why does being consistent matter? If you're saying like, oh, I don't care, my line is drawn where I only care about humans, animals don't matter, and that's my line, it's like, okay, well, you know, whatever.
Sure, so you draw lines. Why do you draw the lines you do? Do you think that there's an objective line, or are you saying that there's not?
So the reason why I would draw a line is because I actually brought I read this at the beginning of the stream where you weren't here. But basically it's scientific consensus. Like, so I could go through the whole list, like the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics, American Diabetes Association, Heart and Stroke Foundation. This list like just goes on forever. I'll read it
Of
if you want.
saying
But
that
like,
veganism is a
no.
fine lifestyle.
That's saying, it says that it's unnecessary for humans to consume animal products for health. And
Okay.
also, and a lot of them also say that you're better off not doing it, right? So to me,
Not a lot of those organizations. A lot of those
yeah.
organizations suggest to eat meat.
Okay. Well, you would have to. I mean, I have the references in the back here that I'll post after the debate.
No,
And then
I agree because I already agree with that list that veganism is a perfectly viable lifestyle and that it's not necessary. What I'm saying is a lot of those organizations, when you look up what is their recommended diet, meat is within the recommendations.
okay, no, but okay. The claim though that I'm making is that they're saying it's not necessary for human health. So we were trying to, you were saying earlier, like, you know, like, is it necessary to be vegan? And I said that's kind
I
of
never
vague.
said that.
Or like when you emailed me, I forget exactly how you worded it, but you were
I
like
never used the word
obligated.
necessary, and I
Well, you
wouldn't
said
argue
obligated.
against that. Yeah,
Yeah.
do you
Okay.
think it's a moral obligation? I'm not saying it's a health obligation to
Well,
eat meat.
I'm saying they're kind of related, because if there's no reason to do it for my health,
Uh-huh.
why would I stab an animal or pay somebody to do it that feels pain?
Is that like what you're arguing is that if we don't have to, then we shouldn't?
Not that we shouldn't, because again, you're gonna have your position. You
Uh-huh.
asked me what I think, right? So I'm telling you
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
think. Yeah. So that's where I stand.
Well, sure. Well, I'm trying to understand like the proposition you want to argue is that, well, if you don't need to, then you won't do it.
Yeah, but again, I'm not telling you that you have to do it. You know what I mean? Because like, have to
Okay.
or what? Like,
But
or
then we
like
could
I'm
just
gonna come to your
peacefully
house or
disagree.
something? Like, yeah. So that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, what is the have to? Like, morally obligated or what? Like, what's the?
I mean, you don't have to say obligated. You could say it would be better in regards to something. Um, I don't know. You can pick a metric that you think is important that might persuade me or other people. It's just like I don't understand what you want to debate about if you can just say to me, okay, agree to disagree. Well, then I can also agree to disagree and I can go continue eating meat.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of things we could discuss. Yeah, but like, I don't have an exact like thing to be like, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is gonna ruin your world or something, right? Like,
I
this
mean,
is
literally, your name is Vegan Debate King Carnivore Slayer. I would
yeah,
think that you have some sort of argument
yeah. But let's be
that
clear
you would
too that
argue for.
you actually proposed the debate to me in the comments,
Oh yeah,
and then you're asking me to come up with something to debate you about.
yeah. Okay, so if you want me to defend a proposition, I'll say meat eating is a morally fine option.
Okay. I mean, we could talk about that. So, what do you mean by morally fine?
It's just a legitimate option.
It's an option. I mean, well, I could say eating, you know, your face is a legitimate option, but what does that mean?
I mean, you could, and you could argue that point if you wanted to.
Yeah. So, I mean, but so let's say when you hold a position like, oh, there's no odds or anybody could hold any position, like you're basically like, isn't that like a promotion of like anarchy? Like I could just hold a different opinion. You have to be okay with it. And I'm just going to, I mean, obviously you're going to be like, well, I'll defend myself and this and that. But, you know, that's like might equals right. My odds, who cares about your odd because I'm bigger than you or something, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, if morality is truly subjective and that's how it works, then it's going to end up being whichever one can, persuade and whichever
Yeah.
one has might behind it. Obviously, if you say you want to eat my face, then pragmatically you're probably just going to go to jail because there's
Yeah.
people with power who don't want their faces eaten.
So like you and Milk Jar, like you guys want anarchy, and so Milk Jar is just gonna
Who
rape
says
you in
I
the
want
woods.
anarchy? I want the
Well, that's what
world
you're.
in my image.
Well, that's the thing is like you're saying that other people, if you're holding the position, like when I'm saying veganism, is the way to go because like you're not causing pain and this and that, and then you're going, well, uh, everybody should have their own odd and there's no line and this and that. That leaves it open for anybody to be like, well, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want then, and then you're going to have to deal with that.
I think that is exactly what's happening right now.
Well, no, whether or not it's happening right now, that doesn't matter. You're saying that this is the way that you want it to be, and I'm
No,
saying
I'm
this
not
is the
saying it's
way
the
that
way
I
I
want it
want
to
it to
be.
be. I'm saying that's the way it is, and there's no getting around that.
Well, what do you mean? There's no so like there is a law, right?
Of
There's
course.
laws, yeah.
Yeah.
So
How does that
do
make
you,
morality objective?
no, I'm not saying. I'm saying like so there is things in place from people like stopping them from getting raped or whatever, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But you're saying that there should be no oughts. So, like,
No, I'm saying
how do
there
you
are no odds. I'm not saying there should be. See, it would make no sense to make a statement like there should be no odds because then I would be using an ought to say there shouldn't be odds. It would just be a self-defeating argument.
Okay, so explain the odd argument again. So if I
There,
say um you ought to not, like do unto others, like basically do unto others is do unto you. Like if you're gonna say it's okay, like you ought to do whatever the hell you want, like I'm gonna eat animals, then why can't I say, well, I ought to eat your face?
I'm saying everybody does do whatever they feel is the right thing to do.
But what would
That
the thing
doesn't
that you would
mean,
want it to be? It doesn't matter like how it is now. What
uh-huh.
do you want it to be?
Well, I could tell you the things I want, but
Yeah.
that's not going to change how other people feel about it. I mean, it might. Maybe they'll find my arguments convincing and then want to adopt them. But again, I would be appealing to their desires in order to change their minds, wouldn't I?
Yeah. So your desires are like, let's name some oughts that you got. You ought to just, you're okay with, do you consider animals, like, do they have any moral value at
Of
all?
course. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
they do.
In what way?
In that I don't think we should, give them prolonged suffering. I don't think we should hurt animals for no reason. The only thing generally I'm okay with animals is just killing them painlessly and then using them as resources. I'm fine with that, but that doesn't
Killing them
mean I
painless.
think we should. That doesn't mean I think we should abuse them or harm them.
Okay. But that's not what happens, right?
Well,
Obviously.
if you would like to make that argument, that's an empirical argument. You can go ahead and provide that.
I
Okay.
just sent you guys a link a few minutes ago in the chat. It's an article from last year from the UK. They found that 180 million chickens were killed without proper stunning due to a loophole in the law. That's just for 1 year. So and you can just, if you spend like 10 minutes Googling, I mean, you'll find example after example after example. Like it happens all the time. Animals are not killed painlessly.
Well, examples, like I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue that there aren't examples, right? Obviously, there's going to be some examples no matter what. But what I'm more interested in is the principled argument of whether or not, if we could make it so that, it is a painless killing, is it still wrong? Now, if you want to argue that even if we could do it, it's still wrong, that's a different argument than what's currently going on and how we should respond to it.
Okay, so like I'm presenting you the empirical numbers here, saying that that's not happening the way it is, and
Right.
that doesn't change your mind though whatsoever. You're still gonna
No, that would change my mind for
still gonna
lobbying
go
for
along
better rules, right? Lobbying for better techniques. I would join that movement that said, look, this isn't sufficient. This isn't how we want it to be. Make it better.
So
Now,
why
you would
did you
take the
even
position of you should go vegan. I wouldn't take that position.
why did you even pick a diet that involves animal products to begin with? Like, why do you feel that even if there's like, you know, say 20%, 15% are dying and there's, you know, a lot of pain involved and stuff like that, and you see that, why do you still need to continue to eat meat? Is there any actual reason why you feel like I'm still going to do it anyways?
I never said there was a need for it. No, there's no argument I'm going to make that says I need to eat meat.
Oh no, but like no, the question was like, why did you even put it in your diet in the first place? Like, why did you pick that as your diet?
I didn't pick my diet as just as much as I picked why I eat vegetables or I picked why I eat fruit. It's just
what?
It's just this is my diet, and until I have a convincing reason to change it, then I'm not going to change it.
Well, you do pick what goes in your mouth every day. Every time you go to the grocery store, you pick the foods that you're buying and putting in the cart, and you're saying you're not picking it.
No, I think
who's
you're not really understanding my point, because there's the idea of picking which foods I buy, which yes I do, and then there's the idea of sitting down and saying what kind of diet should I morally eat. Well, right? I thought that was the sense upon which you were asking me the question. Or were you just asking me what do I purchase when I'm at the grocery store?
So you're just saying you do things for no reason, all willy-nilly, without thinking about it. You've never actually sat down and thought about why you're doing it.
I don't see how that was a conclusion what I said. But like,
well,
as I've been investigating,
yeah, I haven't sitting down and thinking about it.
I have not been convinced that there's any reason I should stop eating meat. That's it. That's the whole argument.
Okay. What would convince you to stop eating meat?
Well, I stopped eating pork because I didn't like the laws, the Canadian laws of tail docking, the teeth pulling, and the small crates that pigs are raised in. So that convinced me to stop eating pig. So things like that would convince me. Although if those conditions were fixed, I would go back to eating pig.
So animal abuse bothers you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, from there, you've just decided to stop at pigs, though, for some reason. So only some animal abuse.
It's not for some reason. It's because I looked up the laws in my country.
So, like, why does, like, say, you know, burning beaks off and, you know, shoving your arms up cows' asses, all these other things, why does those type of things not bother you? Only pigs' teeth bother you. Why are you stopping there? Like, there's other things going on.
As far as I know, I'm undecided on the beak issue. Generally, it's stated that it's not painful, even though I would think it would be better if we just wouldn't have to do it and give them more space. So that's one of those things that I'm kind of like iffy on, and I'm still considering. The whole impregnating cows, it just doesn't bother me at all. Vegans seem to equate that to rape, and I don't see why a cow would see it as rape. Right? I can understand why you see it as rape if you put a human mindset into it, but I don't see how that like equates to a cow's experience.
So I don't put a human mind state into it. So you were also talking about, like you said, you'd done research on pain, and I was looking some stuff up too on that. I'll try to bring that up in a second here. But what they found is obviously there is pain going on, right? You would agree that there's pain and suffering, but then they're unsure what amount of emotional pain goes along with it. Like, so it's not like they determined like, oh, it's just the pain's there and then it's gone, you know, because they're just dumb animals. Like, they're unsure. Would you agree with that? Or
are we talking about like consciousness research and stuff?
Well, so like emotional pain going on with the actual sensation of pain, right? Like, so like aftermath, like after the, you know, say I punch a cow in the face, it goes,
right.
Ow. and then what happens after that. They're not sure like the extent of the emotional pain that goes along with that, right? For how long and to what degree. Would you agree with that?
I haven't really looked up any of that research.
Okay, well,
Is
like
that
I'm saying, the research is inconclusive. That's what I'm saying. So they don't have
okay?
like they don't say either way, like there's a lot or there's a little. They don't know, is what they're saying, right?
Sure.
Okay. So if you don't know, why would the answer be then to okay, it's fine to stab and eat them, or to shove my
Wait,
arm
wait,
up
wait.
their ass, or
Okay,
burn their
because
beaks
if you were
off,
saying
or
eat
put them in
them,
blenders.
because I was gonna say if we kill the animals, I'm pretty sure there's no prolonged emotional
No,
pain.
no. Okay. Well, the rest of the stuff that goes along with it. That's what I'm saying. Like the,
Right.
all the things that go along in animal agriculture, where they're, I'm forgetting a ton of them. It's been a while since I even talked about it. But they blenderize chicks. They do all sorts of crazy shit. They gas them. They, all these terrible things of they're all the amount of steroids that go in them, and their legs break, they can't hold up, and all that crazy stuff, right? So there is all these things going on, but your conclusion is let's do it because you said, what did you say about pain? You don't believe that. I'm trying to go back. I can't remember exactly how you worded it in the other debate.
Well,
You don't
oh, are you
believe what?
talking about with vegan gains?
Yeah, because you said you don't believe you think it's only a small sensation and then that's it or something, and in certain animals. So then therefore it's okay to eat them, or okay to abuse them, or whatever it was. Sorry, not
I
eat them,
never, I
abuse
never
them.
said abuse.
Well, he even made a argument where he said if I was abusing a dog and ripping its skin off and all this stuff, you said you'd be fine with it, but I think you were a sick person. You can
I
go
never
back
said
and
I would be fine with that.
you never said that. Okay, well people can go watch the debate, but you said something along the lines of I would just have a problem with you. That's what you said. You said I would just have a problem with your mentality.
Yeah, I said that's why it would be immoral. Although,
Yeah.
and yes, that's what I said during the debate, and I have had time to reflect on that, and I did actually change my mind on that. But that is what I said at the time. But that
Well, that's
doesn't
good.
mean I ever said it was a moral thing to do. I said it was immoral due to Richard being that sort of person, and that was the stance I was taking. And while I still agree that that's a true statement, I don't think it was the complete picture
Complete picture of what?
of just like how I morally felt about it.
Hmm. So you think like some animal abuse is okay and some isn't. Like I'm having a hard time like figuring out where you're drawing the line of what is okay.
Well, I told you killing animals painlessly for their resources is okay. So there's
Okay.
a line.
So that's it. So like you're only okay with animal agriculture if it's painless.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 100% painless within reasonable bounds. And generally, I think we should give animals the welfare. It doesn't have to be like a spa, but at least, equivalent to what they would have in nature would be reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, that's not happening though. So I mean, it's really hard for me to be like, well, that's great, and like I can't even see that ever happening where animals are just getting killed, all of them getting killed painlessly. So there is going to be tons of them that aren't getting killed painlessly, and they are getting abused, but yet you'll still support it.
Well, let's say theoretically it was the case that they were being killed painlessly. Would you still have an argument against it?
Well, for me, I would just say that if it's unnecessary for human health, why would we even do that? It doesn't even make sense to me. But
Right.
I wouldn't tell you that you have to do anything, because what is going to be the consequence? It's still just going to be me telling you not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what about like you? So you obviously care about humans. Like, what about the environmental argument of it? Like, are you an environmentalist at all? Do you even like care about the environment or anything?
Yeah, I would consider myself an environmentalist.
Okay, so if we're looking at like, you
So
know, animal agriculture and how it's like the leading cause, let me just screen share some stuff here. I don't know if you could see the screen, but so right here, it's a widely cited 2006 report by the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization estimates 18% of annual worldwide GHG emissions are attributable to cattle, buffalo, sheep, goats, camels, pigs, poultry. But recent analysis by whatever the hell that is finds that livestock and their byproducts actually account for at least 32.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year, or 51% of annual worldwide GHG emissions. So, I mean, if to say that you care about the environment, but then you still support animal agriculture, isn't that like a huge contradiction?
no,
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 it's
it's
not.
not a contradiction.
Well, how could you care about it if you're supporting the main thing that's driving, pollution and
So if I
environmental
ate
damage?
10% of the amount of meat that the average person eats, would I be a vegan?
If you ate 10% of what the average person eats, would you be? Well, by definition, you wouldn't be a vegan. No.
But okay, so by definition, would I be doing a large part environmentally?
Would you be doing a large? Well, so here's the thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe you prioritize things differently than I would. I would look at like, if what's causing environmental damage. There's a ton of things. The number one thing is animal agriculture. It's completely unnecessary for human health. Why would I support it?
That
There's
that
no.
didn't answer my question at all. You kind of just dodged it.
Okay, well, let's say the question again. I'll try to answer it, perfectly. I'm just
If
saying
I
my.
ate 10% of the amount of meat that the average person does,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a vegan. We agreed on that. Would I
Okay.
be doing a large part environmentally?
You'd be doing better than you were environmentally.
Right. And
Yeah.
now if I don't drive around, right? I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I recycle. I do all these things environmentally. You're going to say, look, you're still not doing enough because you have that 10%.
Well, no. Well, I would say you're doing better. Like, why wouldn't I say that you're doing better when you switch to 10% meat?
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's say you're a vegan. I'm eating 10% amount of meat, but you're driving around. You have 3 kids. You don't recycle. Who's doing better?
Yeah, but are you saying that I'm actually doing that because
No,
okay.
no. What we're talking about is whether or not it requires being vegan to be an environmentalist.
Yeah, I
So
don't
I
think
would
that
like
was
you to
my
compare
argument
those
though.
two
Did I say
statements.
that? Did I say that though? I don't remember
Well,
saying
you
that.
said it would be a contradiction for me to support animal agriculture and be an environmentalist. So
Yeah,
it
well, I
seems
didn't
to
say
be
anything
the
about
conclusion.
veganism. That's not anything about veganism. I said environmentalism. Like, if you're supporting the number one driving source of environmental damage, I don't know how you could say you're environmentalist. That's just like my
Even
opinion.
if you support it to the smallest possible degree, you're still not an environmentalist, is what you're saying. So
It
if
can't
I
be the
pull up a,
smallest possible degree because even you said the 0%
well,
would
yeah,
be better than the 10%. So then don't say it's
the
the
smallest
smallest possible.
non-zero, if you're looking for the smallest non-zero amount, all right, I can feel free to rephrase it that way. If I bring up a sustainability calculator and I look at my emissions versus the sustainability, and I find I'm within the green zone, I'm actually a sustainable person, but I eat a small amount of meat, you're still going to say I'm not an environmentalist.
I would think the environmentalist thing should have like the same like possible and practicable factor to it, the same as veganism does, right? So there is going to be some things that people are doing, for the environment, damaging it and whatever. But like, you can't just do unnecessary things on purpose and then be like, I'm an environmentalist. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Okay,
so.
well then we have a disagreement on what environmentalist is. I think being an environmentalist is being a sustainable person, that the emissions that you put out are renewable. That's what I think an environmentalist is. I don't think it's this deontological thing where you can do absolutely nothing that harms the environment.
So, okay. Yeah, I guess, I mean, we have different definitions of what an environmentalist is. Like, I don't know. That's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like something where you're like, I'm a good person, but then you're doing like the worst possible thing, and then being like, well, I'm only doing a little bit of this worst possible thing. Like it just,
Sure.
yeah.
And
Okay.
then I would still say it's immoral because I might have some sort of deontological rules against certain actions. So that would be where the difference is. But when it comes to the environment, I'm more of a consequentialist, and I think as long as you're a renewable person, then you're environmentally fine.
Okay. So what do you think about, like, say, animal agriculture with like superbugs? So if you yeah, for
Well,
animal
hold on. On that point,
yeah.
are we just agreeing to disagree before we
Yeah.
move on?
Well, yeah, because we were just defining environmentalists differently. Like
Okay.
I would say that it's, you should be doing what's possible and practicable, and you're just saying I have no idea what you're saying. If I eat meat if I just do a little bit better, then I'm an environmentalist. Like
That's what you think I said?
I mean, I'm lost
So
of a
you're
lot.
saying you don't even understand the whole point that I said twice.
Well, you said about renewable resources, but I don't know how you're determining what's a renewable resource.
Who said I was determining it? Do you understand the argument that I was making?
I don't know, man. Like, you're trying to use big words. This isn't like who can nerd out
I'm
the
sorry.
most.
Which word did I use that was too big?
I'm just joking around, but yeah.
I'll find a shorter word for you if you like me to.
Okay. No, I mean, I do space out a little bit too. I kind of wasn't listening to half of what you're saying.
Oh,
If I can jump in for
right.
1 second here,
Sure.
I would just say that I think Logan made a good point that you haven't really addressed, which is that you agree from what you said previously that that it is possible to be vegan. So by that definition, not being vegan is something that is unnecessary. So you don't have to do it. And Logan's point is
Unnecessary
that
for survival, right?
right. So the point is that what Logan said is that you don't have to eat animals, but yet you choose to do it anyway, knowing that it's the number one driver of greenhouse gas emissions, and yet you still claim to be an environmentalist.
Yes.
So that is not logical.
Yes, it
What?
is. Because it's up
is.
to sustainability.
So he's drawing this is what he did in the other debate too. He draws his line where it's like, I care about sustainability, or I care about this one thing about like animals have to be killed in this certain way, and this is what I think. And it's like, okay, that's what you think, but like, I mean, it's
Well,
it's not like a
you're being
valid
inconsistent in
argument or
several
anything.
areas. You've said before you don't eat pork because you didn't like the laws of how they were treated in Canada. If you look at the way that birds are treated in Canada, I'm certainly sure that you would, using the same logic, and you would come to the same conclusion that you shouldn't eat them either. You've
So
even
what is
said
the
that you
logic?
don't. You
What is
said
the
that you don't
logic
like
that
the
I
fact that
use?
they're debeaked. You said you don't like the fact that they're debeaked, and it would
I
be
didn't
better.
say that.
You said it would be better if they were given enough space so that they wouldn't have to be debeaked. That's what you just said like 20 minutes ago.
I did say that.
Yes,
but I didn't say I
but
didn't
do
like
you?
that there would be. You're putting one statement that I did say
Okay,
with
so
another one I
that's
didn't.
fine. So that's fine. You said it would be better, but that's not the case. And most birds are crammed into really, really tiny, filthy cages, and they are debeaked. Are you only buying the stuff that that the birds aren't debeaked?
No.
Yeah, so that's inconsistent.
How is it? Okay, what is an inconsistency?
Because you applied it to pigs,
What
and
is
you said
an inconsistency? That's what I'm asking you. What is an inconsistency?
your decision to stop eating pork is not
I'm not
consistent
asking you what
with
is
your.
inconsistent about my view. I'm asking what is the definition of an inconsistency?
He likes to define words. We need to define. Could you define
I will look
for
up
me?
inconsistency for you right now. It says the
Sure.
fact or state of being inconsistent, an inconsistent aspect or element.
Then maybe you should look up what inconsistent means.
Okay, so are you being a hypocrite? Would you like that word better? You're kind of being a
No.
hypocrite.
I'm not agreeing to that.
You're not agreeing to that? So if I say, well, I like punching dogs, but I don't like punching cats, and then I really have no reason why that separates them both. It's
Uh-huh.
like I'm not being a hypocrite.
You do have
I'm
a
just
reason that separates them.
well,
One's a
I'm
dog
just
and one's a
picking one.
cat.
Yeah, but I mean that, but like,
You
there's
can
no
say it's not a good reason,
no.
right?
Okay, so you don't have
But
good
it's not
reasons.
inconsistent.
Yeah, but you don't have good reasons. Let's be
Wait,
real here.
so wait a minute. You're saying that you are being consistent by saying that you won't eat pigs, but you will eat chickens, even though they both have, bad kind of protection for their welfare.
See, I don't agree that the metrics upon which I'm saying it's bad are this apply same in both cases. Whereas you seem to think that they do. So from your view, you seem to think it's inconsistent because you seem to have an idea of what my metric is, but then
No,
maybe that's false.
no, I'm just going based on what you said. You said you don't like the fact that the pigs have their tails cut off, their teeth docked, all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I'm saying the equivalent of that is happening to the chickens, i.e., their beak is getting cut off, and
Why do you think that's equivalent?
one of them has their teeth ripped out. The other one has the beak, which is almost the equivalent of the teeth because that's what they use to peck at food and get it into their mouth and eat
Correct.
it. So why do you not see that as being the same?
Because one is said to be painless, and I can't see how the other one is.
Have you ever seen the chicks after they have the beaks cut off?
Yes.
You've
I've
seen
also
videos of them?
yes, I've seen all the Dominion footage. I've seen Land in Open Glory. I've
Okay,
seen
but have
all
you
of these
seen
films.
the fact that some of them become so distressed from it that they literally can't eat anymore because their beaks hurt so much and they literally starve to death? Have you seen those
No,
videos too?
no, I have not.
You should look because that's what happens. A lot of them are extremely distressed from it,
What is
and
a
they will
lot of
actually
them?
die from it. What's that?
Please, what is a lot of them? When you say a lot of them, what is a lot? What does a lot mean?
I have no idea. If it happens to even just one, don't you think that's a cause for concern? And that it
No,
probably hurts?
no. One would
Interesting.
not be a
Okay.
cause for concern.
Yeah, okay.
One out of billions would not be a cause for concern. If that concerns you, I mean, okay, sure. I guess we have different concerns.
I just think it's laughable that you don't see the teeth being removed and the beak being cut off as being roughly the same thing.
And you're free to your opinion.
So what do you think? What do you think when you look at this picture here of this kid sticking his whole arm up a cow's ass? Do you think that's fine? That's
Yes, that's fine.
that's not rape. This
It's not rape, no.
this this nine is this your channel? This is probably your channel here, isn't it? But
What's
yeah,
my channel?
that's totally fine to just have a kid shove his whole arm up a cow's ass. That's okay. You don't think that causes any, like, the cow doesn't even think about it. It's no big deal. That's not abuse in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't think it's that distressful.
You
I've
don't think
watched the entire procedure. I've seen cows go through it.
what is that kid going through though when he gets home? All his friends telling him, laughing at the video. You stuck your whole arm up a cow's ass.
So it's wrong because some people may have ridiculed him.
I would think so. I mean, there's
Wow.
wrong for a lot of reasons. That's one of them. But I mean, again, we just have different opinions about what's cool or not. Like you think that's totally fine to just shove your entire arm up a living being's ass.
That's how they artificially inseminate them.
Well, that is how they do it. But I don't know, is that like a good reason? Just saying, well, that's how they do it.
No, not everything that you do is a good thing, but I don't have a problem with that particular thing. Why should I?
Okay, so
Would you want it done to you?
No, I would not want it done to me.
So is there like a list that you made of like different ways to abuse animals that you're okay with and ones that you're not okay with?
Define abuse.
Well,
Because I'm
again,
not having you straw man my position by
no,
just
no, no.
saying
I'm
I'm
saying
okay with abuse.
so punching is abuse. You would say that, right?
Uh-huh.
Shoving your arm up someone's ass, not abuse.
Right.
Okay. And how did you determine that though? How did you
The distress of the animal, the reaction of the animal would be the determining factor.
Have you ever
Okay.
seen them getting dehorned or branded?
What does that have to do with artificial insemination?
It's just another procedure. I mean, there's many other ones that we could talk about as well. But are you okay with those?
I don't know what dehorning it is, if it's a painful procedure or not, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay, so
They
have a look
take
at
a
the
hot
screen
iron
here.
and they literally burn off the horns when they're still really small, like little buds on the top of the animal's head. They provide no
Right.
pain relief, and the animals are tied to the side of a fence.
Is
They
it
bellow
painful
out.
to
It's horrifically
harm
painful.
horns?
It's
Okay. And
horrifically
how do you
painful
know
for them
that?
because you can see it in their eyes. They're screaming like crazy and they're literally crying.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, we can take a look at the video, right? Because
Sure.
what we're gonna have is that when we see something that's like painful and it's a bad practice, I'm gonna end up agreeing with you that we shouldn't do it.
Okay.
That'll
I
be
think
what.
if you do this for about 2 hours, you'll be vegan by the end because you can literally find a video on just about any one of these things for any animal food choice that you have.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Would I be vegan if, in principle, we didn't do these things? I would still eat them. Would you still call me a vegan?
No, I wouldn't call you a vegan. I would say you're a
Okay.
plant-based eater. But later on, once you become that, you'll probably make the ethical connection and you'll realize why you should be a vegan. But anyway,
Well, what's the
that's just
ethical?
later.
Okay, then let's talk about the ethical connection that I'm missing. What is the ethical connection from that plant-based position to veganism?
Yeah, going back to your question about just whether you should do it if they didn't feel anything, you could somehow magically like kill them without any kind of pain whatsoever.
Why is it
I
got
would
to be
say that
magic?
again. What's that?
Why does it have to be magic? Why are you invoking magic?
Okay, some theoretical that doesn't exist right now that may be possible to exist in the future. Some method. It doesn't have to be magic. I'm just saying it doesn't exist now.
Yes, it does.
What?
The stunning process does stun animals. Now you're saying
Mm,
it doesn't work 15% of the time, but
right.
the times where it does work isn't magic.
Okay, but there is no like foolproof way to do it, and so like I'm saying, you'd have to think of something else, some other way to do it, and even if it existed,
So
what I'm
you
saying?
mean the same way except more efficient?
No, not more efficient, more accurate, or whatever, more thorough.
That's what I meant by that.
If you could get 100% success rate,
I don't care about 100%. 100% is a ridiculous metric that I would never look for.
well, you said painless, and if we're talking about painless, then you're not talking about painless. You're talking about mostly painless or almost completely painless. Because
Sure.
for
So
those
if you
animals that it's going to
fail,
fail for, it's not going to be painless.
yeah, if it fails for them, then just don't kill them and let them go back around.
Go back around what?
So like leave wherever the stunning area is. If you cannot knock it unconscious, then don't kill it. And generally, that's supposed to be
That's
the
not
procedure.
that's not how it works. If you get a bolt gun firing into their head, it's not that they feel nothing
Or
and there's
just shoot
no
them with a
damage.
gun.
Have you ever like talked to anybody or read from somebody who's been shot and survived?
No, I have not talked to that sort of person.
I have had a coworker who has been shot multiple times, and he worked in the Coast Guard, and he spoke to lots of people who had been shot, and he swears that it's the worst painful thing you will ever feel. He's also been stabbed as well, so I think he kind of knows what he's talking about. And being shot is
Sure.
not something that is painless,
So let's
even if
say,
you're shot in the head.
here we have a
You have a.
99%
I'm just saying. Let me
success
finish
rate.
here. Let me just finish here
Sure.
because you
Sure,
kind
go
of
ahead.
interrupted. What I'm saying is that the bolt gun procedure is not one the way you think it is, where like they misfire the gun and like nothing happened to the animal. It's not that nothing happened to the animal. It's just that it didn't actually stun the animal because maybe it didn't go all the way through its skull, or maybe it went through into the wrong kind of place. The animal is still going to be in horrific pain from that. It's not just like it misfired.
No,
and
okay,
nothing
yeah.
happened. Yeah.
I'm fine. Let's amend that and say that's the case, and you're right. That if we fail to stun it, then it's in pain. Well, we could also have a backup, just regular gun, and then blast it in the head. Now, sure, there's some pain involved. Wasn't the best thing, but if we have a high efficacy rate, and that happens only occasionally, right? Then this 100% requirement is not required. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, you asked me whether or not I would be okay with, having the animals feel no pain. So and what I'm saying is, even if you could make it 100%, I know you're saying you don't care to make it 100%, but I'm saying in the theoretical, it
Sure.
can be 100%. There is no animal, none of them will ever feel any pain. It'll be completely pain-free, all of them, 100%. Even then, I would say it's wrong to do it because it's unnecessary for you to do so.
Are you saying things that are unnecessary to do so are wrong?
When it involves the suffering of another sentient being, then yes.
Well, then what are you defining suffering as? Because in this theoretical, you just said it was painless.
You're taking them away from their families. You're causing suffering in their other members of their society or family or whatever you want to call it, their family structures, and you're also taking away their life from them. And just like that would cause you distress if that happened to you, or if it happened to somebody else, you wouldn't want it to happen to you or somebody else that you love.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with the animal? I mean, you can ask me whether or not I would accept it, but I'm a different kind of creature. I have abstract capabilities. I can consider the future. There's a whole range of differences between me and an animal.
Lots of animals can consider the future. That's been proven through many experiments.
No. Hold on. They can introspectively consider the future. They can abstract about the future. Or are you saying that they can sort of have predictive movements about the future based off of previous experience?
No, they absolutely can experience the future and think about it and plan for it.
I don't think that you really addressed my question there.
Have you ever had a dog?
Yes.
Okay. What does the dog do when it sits around all day waiting for you to come home and bring it for a walk?
Yes, I already agreed to this, but this was the two things that I just suggested.
So which kind of future planning is that?
Yeah, it's not abstract. It's experiential.
Experiential. So what about a squirrel that puts away nuts for the winter?
Okay, so that would be based off of their experience, so they can know where the nut goes. Do you know what abstraction is?
Okay, explain it.
Abstraction is taking like general and small qualities of your mind and then making theoretical situations in your head. So, for instance, if I said, I want to be a firefighter when I grow up. Well, I'm not a firefighter. I have no experience of being a firefighter, but I can abstract into the future the idea of me being a firefighter. This is an abstract concept that's not based off of my experiences.
Do you have like sources or anything about that for sure that animals are, have this type of thinking and experiences, or are you just guessing?
Do I have proof that they don't have it?
Yeah. Do you have proof? Like, can you hop into their brains? Have people hopped into these animals' brains? Do you have a list of which animals have what type of thinking? Like, where's the research on this that you're just asserting? This is the way it is.
I have about as much proof of the absence of that as I have the absence of invisible leprechauns in my room.
Okay, so like you don't have any proof, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because you can't get proof of nothingness.
Yeah, so that goes back to my original point about pain and the emotions that go along with it. Is what I'm saying. It's very like unknown, and for you to just say that this is the way it is, that right. You don't know that.
If they don't have it, then by definition, you would never be able to find the nothingness. So you would always be not knowing, right?
Yeah,
why don't you believe in God on the same basis, right? Why don't, if you can't disprove God's existence, do you therefore believe in God?
Well, I mean, in the future, you might be able to figure that out. So that's, again, you're predicting the future. So like there is in the future, obviously, like they're going to find out better ways to do brain scans and all that type of stuff. So you don't know that they might fully figured out in the future, but you're jumping the gun saying, I already know, and this is my argument.
No, I'm not saying I know. What I'm saying is I have no reason to believe it.
Well, you have no reason to believe either way, but you're using that as a reason to go ahead and eat meat.
Yeah, no, I am saying I have no reason to believe they have this capability because there is nothing displaying that they have this ability. But you're saying, well, why don't you go ahead and prove that they don't
why
have
does that why does that
'Cause that's
ability
impossible.
even matter? Why does that ability even matter?
Because your original point here was that if I was in the cow's position and being killed painlessly, I would have a problem with it. I'm saying that I have the capability.
That has nothing to do with the future.
You said
whether or not you miss a dead family member has nothing to do with the family.
They would not be able to have a future experience, and then that would therefore upset me. And I said,
their
yes,
family
because I
members
have
would
the
miss
ability
them,
to
and their family
conceptualize it.
members would miss
Sure.
them, which has nothing to do with the future.
Listen, I addressed one of your points with this point, not both of your points. I'm sorry that my counter argument didn't cover both of your considerations all at once, but I was trying to finish the first one before we go on to the other one.
Okay, and what's your answer to the other one?
Prove your case that they have this family upsetness, this family tie, that the animal misses the missing family member, or perhaps they were killed at the same time, in which case your consideration isn't even a requirement.
But there is studies
that's absurd. I mean, there's so many examples of that. Like you look at elephants mourning, whales mourning, dolphins.
I agree.
Mourning.
I think elephants are self-aware creatures that we shouldn't kill. So you're not going to find a disagreement with me in there. Now, if you want to talk about the farm animals that we do kill, like give me examples of that.
Well, you just said your argument was animals. Then he just named some animals, and then you said, I agree, those animals. So again, do you need a list? Like, where's your list of animals?
Any animal that I think is self-aware. I mean, you said you watched the vegan gains debate, so I thought you would already know my position.
Yeah, but where's your list? You're agreeing, oh yeah, I know that with elephants, I know that with this. So you have a list and you've decided on your own which ones can do what. And
I've decided on my own. No, yeah, sir. Okay. I use scientific consensus. I do not decide. I do not have a little spin a wheel that I could go twirl around in order to pick animals.
No, well, yeah, well, you are.
Google right now. Google right now. Self-awareness in animals.
Why would I Google that? You're the one saying that this is the way it is. Show me something.
So you want me to Google it and then send it?
Well, you just made the argument. You just made the argument. I didn't make the argument.
I mean, I can do it for you.
Yeah. So you know which animals have what type of self-awareness and everything. Like you have a list. You know, elephants are a certain way. They miss their families. These certain animals don't. You have all this written down somewhere, or you can Google it and show it to me, right? Which animals don't miss their families? How did they determine that?
Yeah, you see, people don't go around proving the absence of things. I think
well, then how do you know
a very big confusion on how science
works. Have you ever seen the way chickens, like hens, will basically sing to their young, even before they're hatched?
Does that have anything to do with what we just talked about?
You were talking about self-awareness and bonds between family members.
I was not talking about bonds between family members. We were talking about self-awareness.
Okay, so here's the overall.
That after you didn't like the examples I gave about the elephants.
No. Yeah, I thought those were examples of future abstraction.
Okay, here's my overall point.
That was an example about a dead family member because we already finished the conversation about the future abstraction.
Oh, okay. Well, then I agree that animals have connections to each other.
Okay. Here's the point, though, is like you're using all of this as an excuse. You're using all of this as an excuse to eat meat. But then when I say, well, it's not proven.
See, you're calling it an excuse. I don't really like that loaded language.
A reason, whatever. You're using it as a reason to eat meat. But then when I'm saying, well, prove it, then you're saying, well, I can't prove it because
no. But you're asking me to prove the absence of something. Do you understand why that's impossible?
You're using it as a reason to eat meat. So how can you use the absence of something as a reason to eat meat?
Because if they don't have that capability, then
no, you just said it again. You just said they don't have it, but
okay, if I don't have a reason to believe that they have it, is that acceptable?
Okay, if you look at like humans and all these other animals that have been proven, like through reasoning, you could see, well, these other ones most likely have it too. But then you're jumping the gun saying, well, they haven't fully proven it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and eat them. The reasoning
I
should
think
be,
you're jumping the gun on
no, the
that one.
reason, well, you're interrupting here. The reasoning should be, well, they haven't proven it yet, so I'm not going to go ahead and eat them. Because why would I do that? Because I'm probably causing a lot of suffering here. But
Your
you're saying,
argument, your argument here is that certain animals have been identified to have self-awareness. Therefore, other animals probably have self-awareness, right?
well, this is according to you though, the self-awareness thing. That's your argument. I didn't make that
Yeah,
argument.
yeah, I know that my metric is self-awareness, but
Okay.
what I'm saying is your argument for why other animals would have self-awareness is because certain ones have been proven to. Therefore, it's probable that other animals do as well,
Yeah, that's
right?
like saying, yeah, that's like me looking at you and being like, you're human. You probably can do all these other things that humans can do too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't that
And
make
what
sense to
would
you?
be your basis on that? What would be your basis on that?
What is it? Inductive or deductive reasoning? One of the two. I can't remember which one it is, but
No, no, it
like,
would be inductive. But what
yeah.
is it that I have that you also have that would lead you to that conclusion?
Well, we're both animals to start. We could start there.
So because we are both animals, that's why we are both able to have rational thinking,
That's
or
the
that's why
starting
we're able
point,
to do math.
and then we would go to species, right? We're both the same species, so that makes it even more that we would be more similar. If we were twins, then it would be even more. Like it would be, you could go, further and further, but like,
Sure.
animals is a
So
big
so
one.
let's apply this to math. The
And then we
ability to
got,
do algebra. Okay.
why
So
are we
I can
applying
do
it to math?
algebra, and you can do algebra. We're
Okay.
both animals, therefore animals can probably do algebra. Now, does that sound like a reasonable argument to you?
No, but we're not okay. Why did you just pick math? Like to say, well, we could fly and stuff like that too. Obviously, like I don't have wings and stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, if we look at the things that cause like pain, like that was the big topic of today, we have the same things as the animals do. We have
Well, we
brains,
weren't
nervous
talking
system.
about just pain, were we?
No,
We were
but that
talking about self-awareness.
oh, that's okay. Well, that's what you were talking about a lot. I didn't really talk about that much, but my
But
whole
that's what you
point
were
was
counter-arguing me with.
okay. So again, the things that you would think about, like being self-aware, would involve a brain, would it not?
It would involve a brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be a big thing. It has a brain. So for you to just jump the
Right.
gun and be like,
So
well, it's not
I
self-aware,
can do
even though it
algebra
has a
because of
brain.
my brain. Animals have brain, they can do algebra.
How do you know they can't do algebra?
See, this is
We don't know.
basically where your argument is. How do I know
You
they
don't know.
can't do algebra?
Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
you're gonna go ahead and stab them.
Bees
You're
can
gonna
do complex vector math. They use like dance sequences to basically communicate the location of flowers to their hive mates, and it's been shown that it's very complex, like vector mathematics.
There you
Okay.
go.
sure. Okay,
I just looked up like what you
let's
just
look at
typed
this
in there.
argument.
Let me
There you
give me
go.
Anything I
give me
can
1
do
minute.
due
Give
to
me
my
1 minute.
brain
Give me 1
that
minute.
an animal
Here.
can do.
Give me
therefore.
1 minute. Give me 1 minute. You just posted in the chat studies done on primates and self-awareness and what have you. Even in the thing you posted, it just says apes, monkeys, elephants, and dolphins have been studied most frequently. The most relevant studies to this day represent self-awareness in animals that have been done on chimpanzees, dolphins, and magpies. It doesn't say anything else about why other animals may or may not have this. They're just talking about which ones have been tested the most. If you also look up mirror test, you can see that a bunch of animals have actually passed it that are probably a little bit surprising to a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
I know.
there are.
And you also have the what's the fish that recently passed?
Do you eat fish?
I do eat fish. Not very
Oh,
often, but I do
so
eat fish.
so you know,
several
they
birds pass
passed
it.
and you still eat
Several
them.
birds pass it, including pigeons. Most people don't think pigeons are very smart. Chickens have been shown to be as smart as like 3-year-old children. So if pigeons can pass it, I would actually be kind of surprised if chickens can't. There are fish that can pass it. There's a list of them here on the
Chickens have been
Wikipedia site.
tested. They don't pass it.
What's that?
Chickens have been tested. They don't pass.
Okay. There's lots of other animals that have failed too, including certain primates. but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything. It could also be the way that people are testing it. We don't know a whole bunch of
No,
stuff
I agree
about
with that.
animals.
I'm not saying that the mirror test is perfect, but you're asking me like what do I go off of to think that animals are self-aware? Now, I think one of the things we can use is the mirror test. Passing it means more than failing it. Failing it doesn't really mean as much because not all animals are visual creatures. But and when it comes to developmental studies of infants, in humans, we don't start with self-awareness. This isn't a quality that humans are born with.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
it's
All I'm
developed
saying is that if a
around
pigeon can
2 years.
pass it, it's very likely that chickens may also be just as smart because they're smart in other ways. They're probably a lot smarter in some ways than pigeons. And if pigeons can pass it,
I
then
don't
this
even see
goes
where
back.
pigeons pass it, actually.
Here's the link. It's right here. I'll put it in the thing.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I would actually like to ask you a qualifying or a clarifying question.
Prerequisite behaviors. I wonder what that means.
Well, it's probably that the animal doesn't know what the what's going on. Maybe there's some kind of acclimatization that has to happen first. But
Well,
I
yeah,
want to
but
ask
that
you
would be the
something.
case
I want
for
to
all
ask you
animals.
something to clarify your position because I haven't seen your debate with Vegan Gains, so I don't know exactly when you guys were talking about the aughts and whether there are any or should it be any or whatever. I have a question for you. If you're walking down the street and you see a human being abused by another human, um, let me ask you: like, do you think it's a moral obligation for you to step in and help the abused human?
I don't really agree with moral obligations, but it's something I would want people to do, and it's something I would do.
Okay, but you would say that it's not a moral obligation.
I don't think anything's a moral obligation. I don't think
Okay.
those terms make sense.
Okay, cool. I just want to clarify your position, and then also just one like similar question is, you think there? Well, let me try to phrase it the right way. But what is your thinking on abusing another human? Like what? How do you define your kind of like I guess like ethical or moral kind of like consideration for another human?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I care about other humans, so I want them. I want to take care of humans. That's essentially my position.
Okay, so would you say that it's wrong to abuse a human?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I mean we're in agreement there. So here's where I think I would say like veganism comes in as a whether it's a moral obligation or not. I would agree with you that it's not a moral obligation to stop somebody from abusing another human, because let's say the theoreticals could be that you might be in danger, right? Like if somebody's pistol whipping somebody in the alley, you have no idea whether by you stepping in there that guy might shoot you. So like I wouldn't say it's a moral obligation. I would say you're a hero if you're going to go and try to defend that defenseless person anyway. But it's certainly not a moral obligation. But I would say that it would be certainly a moral obligation to not harm the person unnecessarily. So like it's in self-defense, if you harm somebody, I would say it's completely fine. But I would certainly say it's not right to I would say that it's wrong, just like you said. I would say it's wrong to hurt somebody else unnecessarily. So I think where I would say there's a moral obligation is to just not hurt the person, not to stop somebody else from doing it, but to actually not do it yourself. That's the moral obligation, and that's what is often referred to as the moral baseline. Would you agree with that for humans?
I think I agree with most of the things you say because, like, if you could get shot, I would agree that you shouldn't do it. Now, obviously, I disagree with the whole obligation speech, where maybe obligation means something to you that I can't agree with.
Okay, but I used your words that you said it's wrong to hurt another person unnecessarily.
And when I say it's wrong, I mean I get a sense of wrongness from it.
Right. That's what I said. It's wrong to hurt another human. That's what you said too. Yeah. So okay, so you don't have to use the word obligation or whatever, but that's what I would say is the moral baseline. It's a not doing something bad. That's the baseline. The expectation is just don't do bad stuff. to the human.
Okay. Sure.
Right? Okay. So the only thing that veganism is really trying to do is extending that same kind of like don't do bad stuff, like, and make that be the moral baseline for all the other sentient beings, because we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, like Logan is saying about all these other kinds of things. Like,
No, I understand what the vegan position is. It's just I don't agree that it's wrong. So if the moral baseline is to not do wrong things, but I don't agree that it's wrong, then how am I going against my moral baseline?
mm-hmm. So then, yeah, then it goes back to the question of like, what do you use as your distinguishing characteristics between those animals that you think it's not morally wrong to harm, and which ones that you do think it is morally wrong to harm?
Mm-hmm. And I know you haven't seen the vegan gains debate, so my metrics have been: I don't think we should harm anything that is self-aware, and I don't think we should harm humans.
So you're saying cows aren't self-aware?
Right, correct.
Okay. So how do you're just like you haven't seen any research on it, is what you're saying. That's why you're saying it. Or you have.
I'm saying that no tests have shown that cows are self-aware, or that we would have any reason to believe they are.
Okay. So you just need a test to come out on each animal before you stop eating each animal.
Well, if there was a large amount of animals with similar complexity, then I would just start to assume that that complexity more than likely is able to give rise to that capability.
So what about
goats?
No,
it wouldn't have to be every single animal.
What about goats?
What about them?
Like, are you fine with somebody stabbing a goat? Okay, so
stabbing a goat for, you mean stunning and killing a goat for food?
Well, let me screen share this with you here.
Your phrasing makes it sound like I'm
Can you see the screen?
Okay with somebody just walking up and stabbing a goat.
Can you see the screen here? It says sick man arrested for raping goat claims he asked permission first. So he actually asked permission from the goat before he raped the goat. So it's not really raping because he got permission, right? But you think that's okay because the goat's not self-aware.
Did I say that everything you do to an animal is okay because they're not self-aware?
Well, this guy's
because
lying.
We clarified this at the beginning of the debate.
Yeah,
and it seems that you've forgotten what I've said.
Yeah, but so this guy's line is that he's raping the goat for pleasure, and your line is that you're eating the goat for pleasure. So is there really a big difference between the two, or they're both kind of just for pleasure, right?
Did you remember my old argument, like, at all?
No, but I'm asking you right now.
No, you don't remember anything I've said.
No, okay, so you're gonna dodge. I'm asking you.
I'm not dodging because I've already answered this question.
Okay, let me ask you again. They're both for pleasure. He's doing it for pleasure. You're doing it. Okay.
That has nothing to do with my decision making. That's just a fact that's irrelevant to my decision making.
To your decision making. I'm just saying, like, morally. Like, they're in the same playing field according to you because they're both for pleasure.
Not according to me. According to what you've decided I've said, which I never said.
Okay, so sticking your entire arm up a cow's ass, that's fine. Sticking something up a goat's ass, not fine. Makes perfect sense. Both not self-aware in your opinion. One guy doing that to a goat for pleasure, not fine. You doing a different thing to a goat for pleasure, totally fine. Yours actually involves killing the goat. Yours actually is, in my opinion, is even worse than what that guy did because you're actually taking the goat's life, and you're saying that's fine. So, so I don't know. That might be reasonable in your brain, but for anybody who could, figure things out on their own and is just listening, that's ridiculous.
I mean, you seem to think it's ridiculous, but also your grasp on my position seems to be pretty poor.
Okay, explain
everything you said.
Yeah, I just
exactly. He did. He recapped everything I said, did he?
Let's recap. You said it's okay for that little kid to put his hand up the cow's butt, but it's not okay for the guy to rape the goat.
I never even said that.
No, you did.
Yeah, you
said
did.
one is okay One is okay. That picture of the kid he showed on Google is okay. But
Yeah,
the article,
I said that.
the article about the goat isn't okay.
I never said that.
So you think
just
raping a
said-
goat
you
is
said it
okay?
wasn't okay. You just said that not everything that you do to animals is bad.
Right, because he was framing it that I was okay with doing anything to animals because they're not self-aware. That was his framing, and I was disagreeing with that framing.
So what's the difference between the goat and the cow?
What do you mean, what's the difference between a goat and a cow? How is that even a relevant question?
Because you said it's okay for the kid to put his hand up the cow's butt, but you said it's bad for the guy to rape the goat. So why?
I never said that. Are you is any of the people in this chat actually keeping track of anything I say?
Okay, so
what's
you're
your position on
you're
the
okay. You're okay with raping goats. Is that what you're saying now?
State your position on that article, please.
Okay. I'm not really sure where I stand on bestiality. I think it's a really tough question.
What are you watching at nighttime? That's what I want to know.
To be honest, like, because I can't tell whether or not it's harmful. Sometimes you'll have, situations where you have like a dog on a female where the dog can initiate. Do I think that's wrong? It's a really tough question, and I'm not really sure where I'm on it.
Do you like watching videos like that? Are you into that type of thing?
No, thank you. But if I'm trying to like figure out whether or not it's immoral or not, generally you're trying to think about the harm, and I don't know whether or not it's harmful or not. So it's really hard to have an opinion on it if I don't really know.
So one of the
consent is?
Sorry, go ahead, Plant.
The word consent.
The word. What about?
Do you know what it means?
Yeah.
An animal can't consent.
Sure. Not in the way that humans consent, animals can't consent. I understand that.
So this unself-aware animal can't consent. So how's that good? How is that not rape?
Yeah, but like now, if we take the example that I just gave you, where you have a woman and a dog mounts that woman and starts having sex with them, are you saying the woman is raping the dog?
Yeah, I mean, in a way. Just like, a child could do that. You're just going to let the child just continue doing that?
See, I would say it's harmful for the child's development, and that we understand that. But I don't know that's the case for animal mentality. And my decision would be based off of those studies that I just don't have knowledge of. So I don't know whether or not bestiality in all possible forms is wrong. I mean, you can find a giant reflection of this in bestiality laws in all different countries, that nobody seems to agree on what is okay and what is not okay with it, because we just don't seem to have an idea of the consequences of it.
So what do you think about hold on one sec. What do you think about studies that show people who abuse animals? Like, I'll show you one right here.
Becoming serial killers?
Well, there's that too, actually. But older kids who abuse animals much more likely to have been abused themselves. So if I hear you saying things like, I'm not sure about bestiality and it's okay to stick an arm up a cow's ass, I get worried about you, man. I'm worried.
So what was my definition of abuse?
This is this could be like a safe space if you want to talk about anything that happened
Logan,
to you.
I'm very worried about your ability to remember anything I've said.
So if I have a doll here, did your grandfather touch you here?
I know. I know that you're kind of not knowing where to go with this debate, so you're kind of trying to make some levity of it.
No, that's a legit study. That's a legit study.
You don't really have the ability to actually keep track of the things I say.
Well, I mean, you're not sure about bestiality. I got concerned, So,
well,
to me,
great. You're concerned. I appreciate your concern. In my philosophical endeavor to figure out whether a controversial topic is right or wrong. Okay. That's very nice of you, but I don't see how it's very useful for the debate.
Okay, so we'll move on to it. I mean, if you don't want to share, that's cool, but we'll move on to what about animal abuse being linked to human abuse. So you've seen studies on that, like people who work in slaughterhouses, animal agriculture. If you support animal agriculture, these people that work in these slaughterhouses, they are more likely to abuse humans. This is a different study, but FBI will track animal abuse because it's linked to potential human abuse.
Right.
So this
So
is a
what's the
different
definition
study.
of abuse in this?
Well, I don't know.
You don't feel okay. Well, that's a sick
I don't know if
argument.
I don't know if they define every single word in the friggin' study. Like that's what the dictionary's for. Like,
So are you saying that that kid who was working in the animal agriculture, he's going to become an abuser of people? Is that sort
he
of what you're
could.
suggesting?
He
He
could.
could.
I would say.
Are you
I
saying
would
it's
say
more likely?
it's linked. Yeah, I would agree that it's more likely. Yeah. So
Right. So
I would
I
say
think what the
in
thing
the
is
same
here is you
way.
have a broad definition of what abuse is, whereas in that article probably does not. So you would be equivocating.
Well, I would say, would you agree that the same thing is kind of like in the opposite? So like if you're teaching a kid to never harm animals, that they're more likely to never harm humans? Would you say that's kind of like in the opposite direction? It would go that way too?
Well, I don't know if it has that sort of nurture feature, but yeah, that's possible. But I would give it to the definition that's more likely linked to that article and not your definition.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're using animals as you see fit, period, it's kind of
Which I
just a
never
bad.
agreed to, so that's
It's
not
kind of
really
just
a problem for me.
no, but it's kind of just a bad message in general. Like to be like, well, we
I
could use the
agree.
animals for their meat. We could use the animals for this circus. We could use the animals for whatever reason we want. We're just drawing arbitrary lines for what we think is abuse. All these things can lead to also problems with humans, I would think.
Okay, but who are you arguing against this position? Because I don't hold that position.
Yeah, but you like animal agriculture. You said it's
Correct.
the
But
best
you
thing.
just said using animals for any possible purpose, which is not a position I hold. So you are arguing against someone who is not in this chat right
No,
now.
but it's one of the possible purposes, and you're just all right. You're just picking your purposes arbitrarily.
You think it's arbitrary. I don't think it's arbitrary. They make sense to me.
Okay, but there's still uses of animals. Is my point.
I think your lines are arbitrary and don't really make sense to me.
But you think it's okay to eat animals for their meat? Like you could eat a chicken, right? You would agree with that, and that's fine to eat their meat, right?
Yes.
But you wouldn't just have a chicken and light it on fire and watch it walk off. You think that's
correct.
So you're drawing an arbitrary line because either way the chicken dies is what he's trying to say.
You seem to think that's an arbitrary line. I seem to find a very big difference between those things that's meaningful.
But the outcome is the same. Both lead to death.
Oh, so it's whatever the outcome leads to. That's what matters.
Well, death and suffering.
None of the actual things in between the moment of the act and the death matters. It's only the actual consequence of the death. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah.
They're pretty similar, though.
The death matters because you didn't need to cause that death. That's a death.
Right. So you've managed to find some similarities. Do you think you can maybe find some dissimilarities between painlessly killing something and lighting something on fire?
Well, you don't need to do either. That's the whole point.
I didn't ask for another similarity. I asked for a dissimilarity. Can you think of a dissimilarity between those two things?
I'm just thinking of the outcome and why you don't need to.
I understand that you found some similarities.
I mean, I'm just
asking
if
you can find some dissimilarities.
I'm just giving two different examples. I could give more examples.
I don't want more examples. I want to know if you can see some dissimilarities between those two things.
Of course.
Great. What would they be?
Can you see where I'm coming from? How they lead to the similar outcome?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're both killing. It's not like it's not a big stretch. They're both killing.
You agree?
I'm not agreeing. I'm not disagreeing with the similarities you've presented. But you've said they're morally the same because of those similarities. I'm saying the dissimilarities are something I think matter.
Okay, so if you have a choice to kill something and eat it or just kill something, and you don't need to eat it, that you're saying that's fine.
What? Sorry, can you rephrase it?
Okay, so if
Wait,
you were to
actually,
kill...
hold on. Before you rephrase that, can you actually answer the question I was giving you? Because we seem to have moved on without you doing so.
Go ahead. What's the question?
What is the dissimilarity between lighting something on fire and painlessly killing it?
Oh, well, you added painlessly.
Uh-huh. That's
So-
the thing I'm okay with, so it seemed to be relevant to add in.
So how would you painlessly kill something? I don't understand, because from what I've researched, that you could stun something.
I just want you to answer the question: what is the difference between painlessly killing something and lighting something on fire where it dies?
One
He
died.
said he didn't hear the painless part.
Die painlessly.
Right. Okay. So that's the difference. That's the difference I care about.
So you want a painless death, but you still want the death.
Exactly.
Okay, well, my response to that is you don't need to cause that death.
I agree with you. It's not required for survival. I just don't see why it's wrong.
Okay, so that's kind of like what I said at the very beginning of the debate. Is you're just going to be like, this is what I see, this is what I see. Like, we're not going to convince each other. Like, hopefully, you did, see some things maybe about the bees or whatever it was that you haven't seen before or whatever. But realistically, it's for other people watching.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I
like,
agree.
you feel
is
that way?
generally the purposes.
Yeah, you feel that way. I feel this way. I mean, people can decide what they want to do.
Well, let's talk about your views, because we've really been focusing on me at this point.
All right.
Are you saying what is the thing that you think matters? Like, why is it we shouldn't kill animals, but we can kill plants? What's the difference between the two?
We can. Well, I mean, you are required to eat something, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But you could eat just animals, or you could eat just plants, and you would say it's preferable to eat just plants. So what would be the difference?
Well, I guess the amount of science that I've seen when it comes to suffering, and that plants don't suffer, that would be a big difference. And then even if you were a plants' right activist, you would still not be in support of animal agriculture because that kills more plants, right?
Sure. I don't have a problem with that. But are you saying suffering is the only thing that matters? Or
well, no,
is there
like,
other
I mean, obviously, the thing that matters to me about you ending an animal's life, even if it's painless, like you're taking away their joy, right? Like that animal could have been, doing awesome. Like imagine you're doing awesome, you're like, life is great, and then somebody just snuffs you out. Like to me, that's just kind of sad, right? So it's not all about.
So you're sort of putting yourself in the animal's shoes when you make that sort of comparison.
No, I'm just saying I'm not saying that if I was the animal I'd be happy, this and that. I'm just saying the animal probably is happy and you're just snuffing it out.
Right. So we would agree that we'd be denying the animal future possible pleasures.
Yeah,
right?
And that's, I mean, again, there's a plethora of reasons. It's not just one reason. Like I didn't even really get to talk about the other things like super bugs I was going to bring up and things like that. But, there's tons of reasons why. I mean, then the health arguments. I'm not going to sit here and argue that veganism is better for health, or not veganism, but a whole foods plant-based diet, even though I know it is, because that's going to be a crazy long debate. But
I wouldn't even be able to participate in that debate. It's like I don't have the studies to prove against. I mean, as far as I know, I'm going to live to, on average, 82 years here in Canada being a meat eater. I'm okay with that.
You're in Canada.
That's our average lifespan is 82 years here in Canada.
Well, that's nice to know, actually. I didn't know that. But yeah, so I mean, we could talk about superbugs or something if you want. I don't know. Is that a good enough reason for you? Do you think my reason sucks?
Well, I'm just curious. Do you have any extra considerations for humans over animals? And not just because... Well, actually, no. Let's just start with that question.
Well, there's an actual, like, I don't know if you've ever seen this book before, but I was going through this book earlier, and they kind of word things in a decent way here that I agree with. So it says animals have some moral value, but humans matter more than non-human animals. In a situation of conflict between a human and an animal, the animal loses. And I would agree with that. Like, if you're going to kill a chicken you're going to kill a human, I had to decide. I would obviously kill the chicken. But if I'm going to kill the chicken for no reason when I could eat a plant, then that doesn't make sense.
Okay, so you take a more reasonable approach than I would say a lot of vegans do.
Yeah, but then I would also say, like, you know, there is a lot of unknowns too, because, like, you know, you can't really know how certain animals feel. Some of them might be just incredibly, you know, self-aware and all this stuff, and we have no idea. And
so I think that's like one of our main disagreements between me and you is that you take this very like, we don't know, there's no way we could prove we don't know, and therefore we should, you know, take all these precautionary stances. And I sort of understand where you come from on there, but my problem is that you're looking for proof of an absence, which in general is just something you can't have. It's just like, I can't have the proof that God doesn't exist. I can't.
No, that's a completely different thing. You're completely twisting the argument. In certain animals, you even agree. Yes, because in certain animals, you agree that there is self-awareness to the point that it does interest you and that you wouldn't harm the animal. And in fact, a lot of the animals that we just discussed, they're actually very similar to the animals that we eat. So if a pigeon can pass the mirror test, which you actually do say does kind of warrant some consideration, I'm saying, like, how different is a chicken to a pigeon? It's not that different. You asked Logan, like, why are you guys similar, or why is like a chimpanzee or a gorilla similar, or whatever. Like, you can say, like, okay, we both have, you know, hands, and we can climb and do stuff and build structures or whatever. I mean, there's like a whole bunch of things. But if ants can pass the mirror test, which they can, you know, like,
we can
why would you think that. Why would you think, like, you know, like if you should even have consideration for ants, why wouldn't you for something that's even closer than, you know, than an ant to a higher form of, you know, kind of like awareness? It's like, you're saying that it's the equivalent of like looking for God or some other kind of thing that you literally can't prove one way or the other. It's actually something that has already been proven in an animal that's actually quite similar, like a pigeon, for example, for the chicken. I looked at the stats for the article that I linked you guys earlier for the chickens in the UK that were killed without sufficient stunning. It was 180 million. I looked up just for reference how many chickens are killed in Britain each year. It's 982 million. If you do the math, it's over 18%. So it's almost 1 in 5 animals are getting killed, chickens in the UK without proper stunning. I doubt that the Canadian system is any better.
Okay, you made like 4 different points there. Which one did you actually want me to address?
Okay, let's start with the main one that you said it's the same thing as trying to prove or either the existence or the non-existence of God, and I say it's a completely different thing.
Right. So I'm only talking about when Logan says that we can't prove it, therefore we should take the precautionary stance. I wasn't saying
but that's
that
not the
in
only
principle.
Thing he said, though. But that's not his argument for it. He's saying that there are other animals that are very similar that have already been proven. So why wouldn't you give this very similar animal the same benefit of the doubt?
A very nice interpretation of Logan's argument, but I actually think that's your argument, which I agree is a better argument.
It's similar to what I was talking about when we were talking about the same thing, right?
I was really just addressing what Logan said, but if you want, I can move on to what you're saying. And
well, can I say one thing about what I said too? Like,
sure.
So I've heard this same argument kind of like for abortion, and it kind of made sense to me too. Like, you know, like when there's a gray area where the baby is like, you know, a bundle of cells, and then it's got like a brain developing, and you're not sure exactly if it's sentient yet or things like that, right? It's kind of like if you're driving at night, right? I don't know if you've heard this before, and something hops in front of your car, like you see, not something, but you see like a shadow like going in front of your car. You're not sure if it's something or not, but you would stop, right? Because you might kill something. That's like kind of what I think. Like you're the type of person that would just drive right through it and be like, fuck it, I might run something over, but who cares?
Was that a statement or a question?
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, it's a question. Are you the type of person that would just drive right through?
No.
Okay. So, I mean, you're taking preventative measures just like I am. I might be killing something that is self-aware. It might not be, but I'm taking preventative measures. It's the same thing.
No, I understand the preventative measures argument. I think it's among the more persuasive vegan arguments that exist out there. But I also don't agree. Like when we talk about ants and you're saying ants are self-aware, ants are more pre-programmed to just be able to pass a mirror test, because if they come back to their hive marked, they're instantly destroyed by the rest of the ants. So they would have a sort of instinctual genetic reason to be able to do this behavior.
Wait, what did you just agree with? You just agreed with me and then started talking about ants, right?
Yeah.
You didn't respond to anything I said. You just agreed with it and then you went on to ants. So you're
Yeah,
in full agreement.
I agreed with that statement, and then I was going to tie it into other things.
Okay. So I mean, but then how can you agree with that and then be like, yeah, but I'm still gonna go ahead and pay people to stab animals? That doesn't make sense. How could you agree with it and then just go right back to talking about something else?
Well, because the idea here is that if something is a preventative measure, therefore we always do it, would be a false argument, right? You wouldn't say that any possible prevention of any harm whatsoever we should do, or would you say that?
Well, I was talking specifically about killing.
Okay.
Like you're running something over in the street.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right. So we agreed to that particular analogy. Or
but you're still okay. But you're still okay with killing. So it doesn't make sense.
I understand that it doesn't make sense. This was why I'm trying to explain it to you. Do you think any possible preventive measure that could possibly prevent a death we should always take?
Well, no, like when it's that, like I gave a really good example of like something's right in front of your car. That's the same idea as the animals being right in front of you. Now, are you talking about like we should stop driving because there's a small percentage of things that might die? Like
that's what I'm leading to.
Yeah. So yours is a smaller percentage of what I'm talking about.
So what we're going to agree to because of this is that there are reasonable cases and there are unreasonable cases, correct?
Yeah, so a reasonable case would be like we've seen other animals that have self-awareness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're not going to stab all the rest of the animals, even though we don't know that they're not self-aware, because you realize how many different species of animals on Earth there are. You know how long it's going to take to find out how self-aware each one is? Like we're going to do that, or
but let's talk about self-awareness in humans and when it's reasonable to believe a human is self-aware, and whether or not that would apply to particular animals, whether or not we would have a reasonable case to think other animals have that ability that we have.
There. Well, I was just talking about animals that have been proven, and then you go, well, let's talk about humans. Well, what about what I just said?
Well, yeah, okay, so there are animals that have been proven. Well, I wouldn't say proven. We're going to put this in quotation marks, proven, because we have
keep moving the goalposts, man.
Do you want to have a discussion about self-awareness or not?
Oh, I'm not. I mean, self-awareness is not the most interesting thing to me. I'd rather not.
Well, either you care about my argument enough to engage with it, or you don't.
Okay. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Okay. So what are the reasons we might think animals are self-aware? One might be the mirror test, right? Because we think because they reach for the dot rather than the mirror, maybe they have some sort of conception of self. Another one would be developmental processes in human babies, right? So we don't start with a sense of self. This seems to be culturally ingrained, and it seems to be more a product of language and development. Now, this is something that's a little harder to prove in animals. Dolphins, they seem to have very complex languages. Elephants, possibly as forms of expression. A lot of other animals don't. They do have communication, so they can, express intent to each other, but they don't really have the ability to express abstract concepts. What I care about when I talk about self-awareness and why I care about it is because the ability to conceptualize your future means you have a desire for it. And then if that's taken away from you, that's something you actually lose. A lot of people, we fear things like dementia. Dementia doesn't kill you. It doesn't kill your body. But in a sense, you feel like you've died. right? A lot of people have that sort of intuition, and that destruction of self tends to be more important to people than the destruction of their actual body.
Well, I think I disagree with that. It does kill your body. Like it starts killing your brain. I think there's like you can actually look at like x-rays and it's like big black splotch, or like it starts
Sure,
clogging
but
like
we're
blood
not saying you
vessels,
die.
and that starts killing your body as well, like because your brain's attached to your body, so you start friggin' sucking at life. Like you're not as active. Like it kills your body.
I'm not saying it doesn't kill your body. I'm just saying it
Okay, I
doesn't
thought
kill
that's what you were
you,
saying.
right?
Yeah.
So if I, for instance, got some sort of disease that prevented me from being able to walk around, so I'm in a wheelchair, I wouldn't say I've died. I wouldn't say Shadow is now gone. But if I got dementia and I could no longer remember who or what I am and lost all those mental capabilities, despite the fact that my body's still going, I would say I have died. In a sense, I'm dead. Sure, my body's still going, but I'm not there anymore. Would you agree with that?
Are we talking about a fully vegetative state, like you're in a coma?
No, not a fully vegetated state, but just
Well,
like
I
your
wouldn't agree
memories are
then.
gone.
No, I
Okay.
wouldn't agree then.
So you don't think the sense of self is gone?
Again, not completely. I mean, most people who suffer from dementia still remember certain things about themselves. I've never heard of a case of somebody just completely not remembering a single thing.
So you would say
from
to
dementia.
the degree you could still remember who you are is to the degree that yourself is still there, right?
Yeah, and that's why I asked you for a clarifying question whether or not we're talking about a completely vegetative state or not.
Sure.
As long as there is some form of still cognitive ability there, where people are like they still remember certain things, they know how to talk or walk, like those people are still very much alive.
So let's say that they don't remember anything, but they still have cognitive ability.
Yeah, I would still say they're alive.
Oh,
They're
I would say they're
impaired.
alive too, but that's not what I was asking. Do you think their
Uh,
sense of self is gone?
No, there is still some sense of self there. And actually, I'm really curious what you said earlier about the babies not being self-aware. I would love to see what kind of research you're citing saying that babies aren't self-aware.
Sure, look up any theory of mind study of infant development.
If you don't mind, like send me something, because I can't even understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at some.
I'm seeing some stuff here, and I think it even says that there's self-awareness in the womb it's talking about.
Go. Well, where do you see that?
Well, let me just read the whole thing first here. It's an article linked to a study, so I don't want to link an article.
I have children. I can tell you, kids are definitely self-aware.
Oh, you have children, so you can tell me. Okay, well, what was the test that you did to figure that out?
I communicated with them even before they were born.
They talked back.
Yep.
Wow. Before they were born, they talked back to you. That is amazing.
By pushing on the womb.
Right.
That's actually what this study is talking about right now. Actually, they're just talking about responding to their mother's voice in the womb and all this stuff.
Sure, why not? Let's call that communication.
Well, let me show you what this is talking about here.
I actually watered my plant, and it raised up. I think it communicated to me that it likes water.
Have you ever heard a kid crying when it's hungry, or when it's uncomfortable, or when it wants a toy, or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, and why do you think the baby wants a toy? For example, it has nothing to do with food. It has nothing to do with water. It has nothing to do with comfort as far as heat or cold.
Uh-huh.
Well, what kind of non aware biological function do you attribute that to?
Why would that be unaware? Why would you need to be self-aware of that?
To play with a toy?
To do that. Yeah.
To play with a toy?
Yeah.
So what kind of physiological function do you attribute to a baby playing with a toy?
Fun.
Okay. And would you say that that's like a valuable thing, like having fun?
Yes.
So do you think animals have fun?
Are you even trying to answer the self-aware question, or are you just going down some other random pathway here?
I'm saying you haven't even defined self-awareness, and you keep changing. Previously, you said that there's two different kinds of future kind of like consideration, where there's the kind where you want to be a fireman, and then there's the kind of just, okay, I know winter's coming on, and I'm storing nuts for the winter or whatever, and then you've kind of like, and you've kind of dropped that, and you've basically just gone back to kind of talking about like future state awareness. Which is absolutely not true, because as we've said, most animals, I would say, like, are aware of the future. So if you want to say that, again, that doesn't make any sense. And then if you're talking about joy being valuable in humans, and including babies who are probably not yet, aware enough to communicate all their wants and needs yet, but even for them, like, fun is still like good and like something to be valued. I would say animals can exhibit at least that amount of kind of like interest in their own kind of well-being and joy.
I'm really having a hard time understanding how you're stringing these multiple points together.
Okay, where are you getting lost? Where did I have you until?
You said I brought up this fun thing. I never did. You did.
I didn't say you brought up the fun thing. I said you agreed that it's good. I didn't say you brought it up.
Okay, sure. I agree that fun is good. Now, can you tell me how that relates to the self-awareness question that we were just previously discussing?
What I've said is that I am not satisfied with your definition of self-awareness and why it even matters.
Okay, you're not satisfied with my definition. Now, can you tell me why fun is good relates to that point?
It doesn't relate to that point.
Why did you bring it up?
Because I have just explicitly told you that your definition of self-awareness is not sufficient for me to even understand why you wouldn't want to stop harming animals if you didn't need to do it.
Right. So you're not satisfied with my definition. So you decided to find out whether or not I thought fun was good.
Yes. And you said it was good. Yeah, it is brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
It is brilliant, because I'm not going to...
Do you actually want to have a conversation about self-awareness, or do you want to agree on other benign facts that we probably both agree on?
No, it's not benign fact. It's something that you said.
Hey, air is a gas. Do you agree with me? Air is a gas?
Yes.
Great.
How does that relate to the conversation at hand?
That's my point.
Well, my point is that joy, which you also agreed is valuable and good, does relate to this conversation of veganism, not self-awareness. I don't care about self-awareness. And Logan has said that he doesn't care about self-awareness.
So if we're having a conversation about self-awareness, but you don't care about it, then what is there to discuss? If you were asking me about my definition and my understanding of it, but then derail off of some point that has nothing to do with it, what do you want me to do?
If you rewatch what just happened in the past like 10, 15 minutes, you'll see that you have all referred back to kind of this future state consideration. And
we're either having a conversation about that, or we're not having a conversation about that.
And you haven't specified whether or not it's the I want to grow up to be a fireman or putting the nuts away for the winter. And you kind of used a blanket statement, which is totally inaccurate for animals. Animals do have a future state. They may not have the I want to grow up to be a fireman future state, but they do have the other.
Okay, but we already agreed on that earlier, and I told you the distinction. Okay, so if we already agreed on it earlier, why are we figuring out whether fun is good?
No, so why does that matter whether or not, somebody can decide that they want to be a fireman? Why does that matter more than just, I want to be alive, so I'm going to put nuts away in the tree for the winter?
Because there is no abstract thought about, I want to be alive, and therefore I'm putting nuts. That doesn't relate that information to itself. It does exhibit those behaviors.
So you're saying animals don't want to be alive? Wait. You're saying animals don't
I'm
want to be
saying
alive?
animals don't have the concept of what being alive is.
How can you say
Okay.
that when we've already said that they mourn the loss of their dead?
Yeah.
When we're
Also,
talking about self-aware creatures, you and I will agree, and I think elephants probably are, right? I think
Now
they
it's
do
Can I
have a
just show you?
probably
concept
before
of
you
life
said it,
or death.
definitely.
But if we're
Can I
going to
just
be
show you
talking
guys this
about
study here?
squirrels and whether or not burying nuts means they have a concept of being alive, I disagree with you.
Okay, could I show you the study here? Because you were just talking about babies not having self-awareness, and there's this study here. Babies are born with some self-awareness, and it talks about a study that they did in the university. Where is it here? University of London Center for Brain and Cognitive Development, and yeah, and they did a study with 40 newborns, and they found out that babies have some self-awareness. So you
Well, what are
can,
they defining it as?
I don't know, you could look this over later, but you just said that, babies don't have self-awareness. So this is, I mean, I could
Do you
pull up.
know that there are multiple definitions, and I've been talking about introspection this entire
Yeah,
time.
but
Here,
it
I will
seems,
even bring up. I'll get an article for you to bring up on screen here, so we can talk about it.
yeah, but I mean, you're just picking things that you are using for, kind of like reasons to eat meat, right?
Correct.
And yeah, you could just like, but your way of thinking is like you can just arbitrarily pick anything as a reason.
I'm saying they are
And
meaningful to me, and I think
yeah,
that's what everybody does.
yeah. So again, but the things that you're saying, like, oh, babies aren't self-aware, and then I show the thing, and then you're like, well, that's not my definition of self-aware. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter because that's just what,
Okay,
like,
I mean,
you're
I don't
using.
expect what I think matters to matter to you. There's no
Okay,
way that I think that's what's going to occur in this conversation. The only
some
thing
of
I
it might.
really want is for you to actually listen to what I'm saying and not
Yeah.
straw man it. That's about
Well,
the only requirement I have at this point.
no, you said find a study. You said I'd like to see that study, so I just pulled it up for you. That's what you said. You said because I said babies have self-awareness, and I said
But
I
is
just
it what
found a
I've been
study.
talking about? But are you saying it doesn't matter what I was talking
Well,
about?
I haven't thoroughly looked through every word of the study. I just said I found one for you. That's all I said. I don't know if
Great.
it's the way you like self-awareness. I didn't look into that, but again, that'll take me 3 hours to find a study on that. So, I mean, we should probably just move on because, I mean, that's what you like, and that's what you like, I guess. Like, we're
Right?
not.
So there's differences between bodily self-awareness, social self-awareness, and introspective self-awareness.
So
I've been
which ones are good reasons to stab?
introspective because you can have a future concept. It's the ability to abstract future concepts.
Okay. So, but if it's a human, we can't stab it because you like humans, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So if humans were a race, which they are, would you be a racist?
You mean a species?
No, I'm not racist because it's the human race. So it kind of makes you a racist.
Yeah, that's a turn of phrase. It's a species.
But you are kind of a
I
racist.
mean, is this really like your best argument? Is that it's
No,
called
but
the human
no,
race,
like,
therefore I'm a
let's
racist?
just. I mean, that's why probably why you didn't want to show your face. Like you're kind of a racist.
Right. So
Let's
now
be
you're
real.
guessing motivations. Like I don't know at this point if you're interested in my argument or if you're just trying to straw man to gain points.
No, I'm just trying to make you think. If you only care about
If you're
humans,
trying to make me think, you are failing.
if you only care about humans and it's a race, think about it. Kind of
Think about it.
racist.
All right, I'll put that on my to-do list of things to think about. Thank you.
All right. So what do you think about superbugs though? Do you care about that? Do you care about humans, the whole human species dying from superbugs?
I don't know much about it, to be honest.
So, like antibiotics, right? They're fed, I think it's 80% of all antibiotics are fed to animals in animal agriculture. I have actual like links to all these things too, if you want to see each thing I'm referencing. So 80%
Okay,
of
I can take your word for it. Hopefully.
80% of all antibiotics fed to animals in animal agriculture. When you consume animal products, then you become antibiotic resistant because you're just putting all the stuff in there. And so then when superbugs are created, then you cannot, your body can't fend them off because you are now antibiotic resistant. And
Right.
then, and it's kind of like a domino effect. Like the more antibiotics are given, the more resistant these things are, and it just leads to worse and worse things. And I've actually just saw one like 3 days ago where they found like superbugs in Australia. I think it was Australia, in seagulls. And it says, I think it was just in Australia last year, they killed 44,000 people, these superbugs and stuff. So this all stems from antibiotics. And to just not be concerned about that, it's like, well, I just don't care about humans dying either.
I never said I wasn't concerned about it. It's just something I don't know too much about. Now, if it's like an inevitable consequence of like jamming a bunch of animals that we have to do these antibiotics, and these antibiotics end up killing humans, you can sign me up as being against that.
Okay, so you're against it, but then you still support animal agriculture. So like, if I showed you all this stuff, like I linked you all the articles, would your opinion change on what's
Oh.
arbitrary, or would it just stay the same?
On what's art? Well, I would be the same sort of lines because I care about people, and if this is leading to people's death, then yes, I would. This wouldn't be an arbitrary line. It just would be a consequence of my moral system that I would agree with.
Would it help you stop eating animal products? Is that like, that's my point.
Or it could change where I source it from.
So, well, then then we'd get into that argument, is that what if everybody had that same line of reasoning where it's like, okay, we don't want that animal agriculture meat, which is like 99% of all meat. Like it's going to be hard and expensive to find the rest of this stuff. If the rest of the world wanted to do that, that would also be detrimental to the environment, because then we would just have to have all grassland everywhere, and that would just destroy everything, right? So,
Or we would just have to eat less meat.
yeah.
That's also a possibility.
Well, I mean, you would eat less meat, but then then we have to worry about the population and all that type of stuff along with it. So when you asked me earlier,
Which
when you said,
population? What do you mean
well,
we'd have
a
to worry about the
human
population?
population, like, because there's so many people, right? And to be like, well,
Uh-huh.
we're going to eat less meat. I mean, not everybody's going to hop on board with that immediately. It's going to be a big issue, and it probably won't happen in time for, something bad's going to happen, right? Before, I mean, that's a prediction. I don't know 100%. But when you asked me earlier and you said, well, what are the reasons? Like, there's a plethora of reasons, right? So if we're going to look at like the environmental thing, about 51% of environmental damage, about not taking the chance of killing something that may be self-aware or, really sentient, or, the superbug thing, about all the health arguments I've seen, like there's a tremendous amount of arguments. So to be like, well, it's just this one ethics thing.
So if you want one, I'll sum up my position on basically everything you just said there. I think an environmentalist is a person who's sustainable. An environmentalist is not someone who is a vegan. Vegans can be non-environmentalists. Meat eaters can be environmentalists. It depends on whether or not how much you care about your sustainability. Health, as far as I'm concerned, is a personal choice for anyone. I don't know what the health studies are, but I suggest people eat generally healthy. But even if you're a meat eater, you got a good 82 years on your life here in Canada. When it comes to superbugs, I'll agree with you that if that's a thing, and maybe I could be convinced on that point, that animal agriculture should be shut down because of that, but that's something I'll have to look into. Possibly I'll end up agreeing with you. The ethics, you think self-awareness is, an arbitrary line that doesn't matter. I hope I've given, I haven't really been able to expand my view of why I think certain animals are and are not. I really didn't get to go into what it is because I get a lot of these derailing questions. So I never really got to explore that argument. But my argument against it is that future conception matters when it comes to whether or not you should have a future, and that any animal that can exhibit that quality shouldn't be killed, and otherwise it wouldn't be an obligation. Or not that I think obligation is a thing anyways, but I wouldn't be wrong to me. Other than that, I think that kind of sums up our differences in views.
Mm-hmm. So do you think like your views are kind of selfish? Like I'm not trying to joke around. I
think everybody's views are kind of selfish. Yes.
No, but
think,
do you think yours
do
are
I
like
think mine are extra selfish?
maybe a
No,
lot more than other people, like say in this live stream?
no,
No?
no.
Okay. So
Do
why
you think yours are?
are mine like, am I being more selfish than you? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Do you think you are more selfish than the average person?
Than the average person? No, I would say no. I don't
Okay.
buy a lot of stuff. I tend to, I mean, well, realistically, like everything is done for yourself. You know what I mean? Like even when you're doing good things, it's kind of like for yourself. You're still doing it.
Okay. So we agree on that point.
But like in the other sense, like in the sense that I'm meaning it, it's like,
Well, go ahead and give me the sense that you mean it.
well, the sense that I'm meaning it right now is like saying like you're kind of being like greedy and you're not giving back as much as you should, and kind of like the positive and negative rights thing, like you're doing things to others, and by others I mean animals, and you're not giving them as much consideration as you should. you know that's what I mean by selfish.
Okay. Well, then,
Yeah.
by your definition of selfish, I suppose I would be. Not that I think anybody else uses selfish that way, but sure.
Okay, well, I mean, I think a lot of people would. I don't think a lot of people realize that everything that they do is for themselves. I think if you ask somebody what selfish is, I don't think that would come to mind. I think they would think like giving to charity and all that type of shit.
Sure, but that doesn't preclude me from helping other people, which I do. So,
So
in
why?
that sense, I wouldn't say I'm selfish. But if you're adding, I do these things to animals, and that's your definition of selfish,
Well, that
well,
was
then
one
by
of the
your definition, I am.
things I said about considering others, living beings.
Oh, yeah, well, I consider other people all the time.
No, people. Yeah. Well, not. I mean, somewhat.
What do you mean,
If we're
somewhat?
talking, if we're talking about environment, we're talking about the super bugs. We're talking about all
Do
these
you
other
think you're
things.
a more sustainable person than I am?
Uh, it's hard to say. Well, I mean, I live in Canada. It's cold up here, so I do have to take some. I mean, I used to run everywhere, but now that I have a child, it's hard to.
Do you know how much having a child increases the amount of damage you do to this world?
That's true, but I mean, I had the child before I even thought about any of this stuff.
Doesn't
So
matter. That's
no, it
still
doesn't
part of your
matter.
product.
No, but like the way
All right,
I'm
so don't
doing
call me
things now.
non-environmentalist if you have a worse sustainability than I
Well,
do.
I mean, that's kind of being like, well, if you shit your pants as a kid, that's the same thing that you're doing now. It's not. It's not. It's like it's not the same way I'm thinking now about being sustainable and stuff like that. Yeah, I had the kid. That's like
Well, I'm not
I
telling you
can't
not to have
go
the
back
kid.
on unhave the kid or something. I'm just
I'm not
saying.
saying that's what you should do, but I'm just saying that if you're going to tell me that I'm not an environmentalist while doing more damage to the environment than I do, I'm going to call bullshit.
Well, I think it's
How do
intent.
we even know that though?
Yeah,
What do we even know about you? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can, neither one of us can prove how much we're doing or whatever, but
Sure, yeah, that would
I
take
think
time.
I
But
think
you
it's
seem to be
intent.
you just seem to be just claiming that I am. I'm
Well,
not claiming that
your
you're not.
intent though, your intent is kind of like, I'm still going to support animal agriculture. I'm going to do all these things, and that's like your intent, right? So that's what I'm looking at. I'm not, because we can't see how much each one of us is contributing.
Sure. Okay, so then we'll agree that I'm not sure what you mean by intent, because you intend to drive. I don't know what else you do in your life that increases environmental harm. I'm sure you intend to do a lot of things. I have certain intents that probably do damage to the environment as well. All I'm really concerned about is sustainability.
Yeah, but you are supporting the number one cause though, right? That's the biggest intent.
The biggest intent?
Yeah,
But it
the
doesn't seem
biggest
to
thing.
matter to you how much I do it. It seems any amount is the exact same.
Well,
I think that's a very
you said
narrow
it
view.
earlier. You just gave up pigs, so that you already told me how much you support it.
No,
That's
but you don't know how much meat I buy, and you
Well, how
seem
much
to
do you buy?
think that no. This is my point. Is that you seem to think that no matter how much I buy, it's all the same.
No, I didn't say that. I said you'd be doing better if you ate less. But I didn't hear you. But I didn't hear you say anything about, oh, I'm going to eat less or anything like that. I never heard you say that. I heard you said
Sure,
I
but you
gave
never
up
asked.
pigs. Well, how much meat do you eat?
I don't know. I probably have like 2 drumsticks a day.
True drumsticks a day, like fried chicken. You eating fried chicken every day?
I eat chicken. Yeah, usually.
Is it fried?
No, usually baked.
Baked. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, CEO over here, he could probably tell you a lot about what's in that chicken. I don't know if you want to hear it.
Sure, whatever. But the point is on the environmental point, right? I'm not just going to take the claim that you are somehow an environmentally better person than I am.
Speaking about antibiotics, there's a huge amount of antibiotics in
Can you
chicken.
concede on that point before we move on?
Well, no, I'm just an all-around better person than you in every regard, and that's just
Yeah, well,
the way
I
it
don't
is.
care about that claim. What I want to know is whether or not you think you're some more sustainable than I am. If you say you don't know, that's fine. We can
Yeah,
move
I
on.
don't know. I'll say I don't know.
Great.
Yeah. So about your chicken though, there is a tremendous amount of antibiotics in one piece of chicken. So like, you're screwing yourself over for when you get a cold, and you got to go get some antibiotics. And then you're gonna be one of the first people out with the super bugs too, because you won't be able to help yourself. Just
Well,
so
there
you
you
know.
go. The
You might
vegans.
want to think about
Maybe
that.
this should be part of your strategy: is to give meat eaters a bunch of meat so that they all die from the super bugs, and therefore you can just reign supreme right there.
But we care about humans too, right? That's true.
You know, why not just stack the deck in your favor there?
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple more questions before we end this, because I do have to go. Why did you dedicate your whole channel basically to veganism? I saw one video about being an atheist, and the whole rest is about ask yourself, vegan gains, a lot about ask yourself. And it seems it's just like you just want to make videos about vegans. Why is that?
So I used to debate religion for about 7 years. I don't know. I just get interested in certain topics. The reason that I got interested in the vegan discussion was because there wasn't a lot of people kind of taking it seriously from either perspective. I found that vegan arguments and non-vegan arguments were both basically shit, right? So I really just wanted to kind of dive into the topic and try to explore the different arguments and kind of see where they went. I made a post on Reddit talking about, what I thought the difference was between self-awareness and sentience, because that seemed to be like one of the bigger driving lines between most people's conception of value. From that conversation, I realized that nobody had an idea what the hell they were talking about, and that I barely knew what I was talking about. So that kind of spurred me on to start doing research into those topics, which we didn't really get to bring up too much here. But now I'm in school for cognitive science to try and research this topic, because I'm just realizing that even if you go up and look at, the most the research in philosophy and the research in neurobiology, nobody seems to have like a clear definition of what the hell they're talking about. So that just got me interested.
You said vegan arguments are shit, though. But I mean, that's kind of like a general, blanket statement of saying. I mean, you didn't really tell me why my views are shit. You just said these are my views, and I said, okay, fine. We'll let the people decide, right? Like, what's wrong with how I'm doing things, right?
Well, like a lot of the examples that you gave were like these overgeneralizations of the way that you think we would figure out what an animal mind can do, right? That these are some of my concerns, or these ideas that you have about environmentalism, right? You're just saying, well, you're contributing to the leading contributor, and you have seem to care for what sustainability is within environmentalism. These are the sorts of things that I go after when I'm looking at argumentation. I disagree that you're looking at it through the correct lens, and that there's other better ways to look at it.
Well, I disagree with that, because about the environmentalist thing, before you move on, is like the way I'm seeing it is like, okay, fashion, that's a big contributor to the environmental damage. You got to wear clothes, all right? You can't just walk around naked. So you do have to buy some clothes, right? If you're what's another one? If you have to drive around in 40 below weather so you don't freeze to death, yeah, you got to go to the store, get groceries. These things make sense. But then just to say, well, I'm gonna eat animals because I like the taste of them, like that doesn't make any sense. It's not a necessity in any way. in my mind. So for somebody to
Yeah,
contribute
I mean, if you
to
want to
that,
make the claim that everything you do is a bare necessity, I mean, you can go ahead and make that claim.
why again, like to what degree? Like, what are we saying? Like, I have to. I mean, because here's another thing: is like it's very hard to research exactly like every single purchase of where things came from, right? Like, if you're gonna go buy socks and you go buy a bag of white socks, how do you know where those came from or anything? You know,
Sure, yeah. I'm not saying it's easy to figure out, but the
no,
point is that if your argument's based on necessity and you're doing things that are beyond necessity, you're sort of defeating your own argument.
no, I didn't say that. I'm saying like, well, what things would I be doing that's beyond necessity? Give me an example.
I mean, you're having a conversation with me right now.
Yeah, but this is to help the planet, man. Are you not seeing
Okay. So do you just
necessity, bro?
never watch TV for fun or
Actually, I
any of
don't
that
watch
kind of
TV.
stuff?
TV sucks. I watch YouTube though to learn, so I could help the planet. It's
Is that the only things you do?
no, I run outside a lot. I ran for like 2.5 hours today.
I mean, you may be the perfect person. I'm not really sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
If you want to make the claim that you do nothing beyond necessity except what you need to do to survive and promote veganism, sure, maybe you're that person. I don't know, but I don't think that really applies to the general population. And I don't even think it should apply to the general population so long as people live within sustainability. And that's really all I care about.
So, but then again, like as what I just said, you said you don't like my environmental views. So saying that, like
Uh,
again, I don't
I think
see
not caring about sustainability is a problem. I think that's the wrong way to look at things.
not caring. Why do you care about sustainability for humans, right? That's all like because you like humans.
Yeah, so that we can continue to keep this planet going
Mhm.
as long as we would like it to.
Only for humans though, right? So
No,
everything's done for humans
or self-aware creatures.
or self-aware creatures. Okay. So, I mean, the more schooling you get, the more animals that you figure out are, self-aware, the less meat you're going to eat, right?
That's possible. I mean, that's always possible. Or
Okay.
maybe I'll be more entrenched in my position and be like, no, I have even better evidence against it. Well, I mean, we'll just have to see as I, continue through.
Well, at least you got like some kind of like show me some, this and then I'll do it. The thing is if you actually go through with what you're saying, then that would be nice because most people make claims and they don't even actually change. They'll be like, yeah, when I see this, I'll go vegan. And then they
Well,
don't.
keep in mind, when I started this whole debating vegans thing, right, I still ate pigs at that point, right? So this was a process of me debating vegans. That is what led me to make that decision. So I wouldn't get in your head that like, oh, I'm this person who just would never change. But I also just don't take badly, made claims as reasons why I should change.
You know why I went vegan? Because
I don't.
I just knew. I just knew.
Well, I'll let you know when I get that sort of magical sense in my head.
All right. Well, I don't know. CEO, you want to say any? I mean, tomorrow we're gonna, I guess, have another live stream, probably with some other guests. There's somebody in the chat. Sovereign wants to talk about, animal brains or something. I don't know what he wants to talk about, but yeah, some other people wanted to hop into tomorrow, so we'll be here 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I don't know if you want to join back in. You can. We'll let other people talk if you want to, and then you can hop in and say something if you want to. But I think we're pretty much good on our debate.
Yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much explored. I didn't really get to hear too many of your views because you mostly just asked me questions. But it would have been nice whether we could actually have a real discussion on self-awareness that didn't get derailed.
Well, we could do that tomorrow because I think that's what this guy wants to talk about, sovereign studies, right? So we could.
Cool. Well, I thought you wanted to debate me on it, but I guess not.
Well, we're just going to debate self-awareness for friggin' 10 hours? Why do I want to do that?
Why did you pick 10 hours?
Well, I mean, we've already talked for 3 hours, and we talked a lot about self-awareness. I don't know how much more needs to be said.
Yeah, but we never actually did. That's
Well,
the problem.
you actually agreed with me when I said, "Would you stop when the thing hops in front of your car?" And then you said, "Yeah," and then you moved on to a different point. So it's like,
Yeah, I tried to explain why that was a bad analogy, and then you moved the goalpost again.
no, you
So,
agreed with it.
yeah, I agreed with that example, and then I was trying to explain why that example did not apply.
Well,
I have
I
a
remember that.
question, and
you
then I'm
need to
going to
make
get
a
going
list.
as well.
You need to make a list of animals. Go ahead.
I have a question for you, Shadow. Why is it that you are using a very like kind of narrow self-awareness kind of yardstick or whatever measuring thing as the basis of what you can or can't morally justify as eating? Like why is that? What made you like decide on this this trait?
Because when I was trying to consider what the what would deny something from future potential existence, it would be the abstraction ability of understanding one's existence and one's existence in the future. That seemed like the reasonable.
Sorry, can you restate that? What would deny some things? What?
Like why you would be able to deny something any future pleasure, right? So I considered that if something wasn't able to conceptualize that future pleasure or have an understanding of self, then it wouldn't really be taking away something that it understood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I agree that animals might be able to have a pleasure in the moment, but without being able to have a conscious like understanding of that, then.
But you wouldn't apply that to a human, right?
No, I wouldn't. Just because I agree. I'm biased towards humans. I want them to experience those future pleasures. It might not be like
even
it's not the same sort of argument. Yeah, yeah.
But what I'm saying,
a human that wasn't self-aware. I know where you're going with it. It's like marginal cases. Right?
No.
I want them.
No, I'm not going anywhere. Don't jump to conclusions. I was trying to clarify your position. I didn't understand whether or not.
I didn't mean that in an insulting way. I'm sorry if that came across that way. I'm just saying. I figure your general point is like, what about humans that don't have self-awareness?
Okay, but what I'm going to ask is why is that okay to kind of give those humans a free pass?
It's just I do. I care about humans. I can't help but care about humans. I want them to experience that. And I think that's what the majority of us want, right? So if I denied it, I would be harming not only myself and the desires that I have, but also the desires other people have.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think the only thing I would say to you is that I think, giving the benefit of the doubt to animals is really just kind of the morally right thing to do because you don't know otherwise. And in fact, some of the animals have already been proven to have that same kind of level of experience. So that's all I would say.
Okay, I understand your position, but I feel like we just never really got to explore it.
All right. Well, I need to close this out right now. I'd just like to share this article before I go. This is karma right here. This is what happened. Zoo employee killed while attempting to rape an alligator. That's what happens, folks. You try to rape alligators, you pay the price. All right. We're all connected, man.
Website.
You kill the bees. You kill the bees, you kill us. You kill the ants, you kill us. Don't go stabbing all willy-nilly. All right.
And I want everybody to take note of Logan's best argument. Don't rape alligators.
Don't rape alligators. All right. And stop your car when you see a guy raping an alligator and don't run him over because humans matter too. Have a good day.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.